Something that is very. Free School District Board of Education meeting, August 14th, 2024. And the time is now 5:33, and I'm calling the meeting to order. At this point in time, present is myself, President Lisa Johnson, first Vice President Carol Seahawk, second Vice President Megan Messman, Superintendent Dr. Gina Talbot, Trustee Chris Herring, Trustee Carolyn Banning, Trustee Linda Castro, Legal John Sheenan, as well as Assistant Superintendent for Business and Operation Olivia Watsy, as well as Assistant Superintendent for Human Resources Dr. Bridget Wade. Also, Trustee Leslie Kretz will be coming this evening as well. At this point in time, at 5:34. Can I have a motion to go into executive session for particular persons and advice from counsel?
So moved.
Wayne Knettrell is first,
Second.
Carol Seahawk second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries 6-0. We will resume our open session meeting at 7:30. Thank you for attending this part of the meeting.
Public for any particular reason. But tonight we had an unusual amount of interviews that we had to do. And that's why we were delayed in coming back out again. One of the first things that I'm going to do is I'm resuming open session at 8:12. And please note where the emergency exits are. There's no smoke on the school grounds, and please silence your cell phone during the business of the board, and please join the board in a pledge of allegiance. Before we go to the, before I turn the meeting over to Dr. Talbot for presentations, I'm just going to ask the board if we can amend the agenda to add agenda item 2C3, so therefore we can appoint the interim district clerk. So is the board okay with me amending the agenda to add the appointment of an interim district clerk? Right. So can I have a motion to amend the agenda to add agenda item 2C3, which is the appointment of an interim district clerk, which would be Eileen Becker.
So moved. Second.
So first was Carol Seahawk. Second, I think, was between Leslie Kretz. All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right, so motion carries 7-0. Can I have a motion to appoint the interim district clerk, Eileen Becker?
Motion. Second.
So it's Leslie Kretz is first, Wendy Canestro is second. Any questions? So the community knows Melissa Durnan resigned from the district clerk position effective last Friday. And so she's on the agenda. I reached out to Eileen Becker, who has served in the district before as a district clerk. And so she consented to being the interim district clerk. The posting for the district clerk did go up today. Okay, the posting for the district clerk will go up tomorrow for a permanent one. So Eileen is not interested in being the permanent district clerk, but just the interim district clerk. So, so she has graciously accepted to step in that role until we find a replacement.
Thank you.
Right. So all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 7-0. Mrs. Sheenan, can you swear her in? Okay. Thank you. So just to keep it somewhat in step, I'm going to jump to agenda item 3B 207, just to accept the resignation of the district clerk officially. All right, can I have a motion for just agenda item 3B 207, which is the resignation of the district clerk, Melissa Durden?
Move it.
Wendy
Second.
Canestro's first on that item, and Megan Messman is second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries 7-0. Now, at this point in time, I'm going to turn the meeting over to Dr. Talbot.
Good evening, Board of Education, to our community and colleagues. Tonight, for a brief moment, we're going to just present some preliminary back-to-school updates that are in preparation for the 24-25 school year. I'm not sure who's assisting with thank you so much. So we're first going to cover the projected average class sizes for the 24-25 school year, which the numbers I'm providing for you are numbers as of today. And so on the next slide, it gets into our enrollment. And if we look at the trend of student enrollment in the Amityville School District pre-pandemic 2019 and 2020, we had 3,104 students based on our beds day data. There was a downward trend to 2,975, the following year, 2,974. In 22-23, 2,871, and last year's beds day numbers were 2,832. As of today, currently enrolled in our district, we're down about 100 students at 2,733. So very quickly, we'll go through where we stand today, school by school. At Northeast, which is our pre-K center, we're opening the school year with 6 pre-K classes, averaging 15 students a class. Our bilingual class, we have 1 with an average with 12 students, and 3 Strive classes, special needs classes, with an average class size of 6. At Northwest, our kindergarten classes, we have 6 general ed with an average class size of 15, 1 bilingual class with 7, 2 ICT classes, integrated co-teaching classes, average class size 8, and 1 kindergarten special class, which the enrollment in that class is based on IEPs. First grade, 5 general ed first grade classes with an average class size of 23. We have 1 bilingual class. That class has 12 students, 2 ICT classes averaging 22 students, and 2 first grade special classes averaging 7 students. In second grade, we're opening the school year with 5 second grade classes with an average class size of 21, 1 second grade bilingual class with 14, 2 ICT classes averaging 21, and one second grade special class with 11 students. As we move on to Park Avenue Memorial Elementary School in third grade, we're opening the school year with 6 third grade general ed classes with an average class size of 23. 1 third grade bilingual class with 15 students, 2 ICT classes, averaging 23 students, and 1 special class with an average of 9. In fourth grade, we have 5 general ed fourth grade classes averaging size 21, 1 bilingual class at 18, 2 ICT classes averaging 20 students, and 2 fourth grade special classes averaging 7 students. Fifth grade and remaining at Park, we have 6 fifth grade classes. The average class size is 23. Our bilingual class is 14. Our 2 ICT classes averaging 20. Our 2 fifth grade special classes averaging 8. And our 3 Strive classes averaging 8. As we move on to the middle school in 6th grade, 4 6th grade classes averaging a class size of 17. 2 6th grade classes with ICT, average size 27. 2 6th grade special classes averaging size 10. In English, we're offering 18 sections. Our average class size is 14. Our 1 ICT section has a class size of 19 students, and we're offering 4 special class sections averaging 8 students per class. In the area of math, we're offering 16 sections. The average class size is 20. There are 2 ICT sections with an average class size of 21, 4 special class sections with an average class size of 8. In the area of science, we're offering 15 sections and our average class size is 22. We're offering 2 ICT sections with an average class size of 22 and 4 special class sections averaging 8 students. In social studies, and this would conclude the 4 cores, 18 sections averaging a class size of 19, 2 ICT sections, an average class size of 18, and 4 special class sections with an average of 8 students. Moving on to the Amityville Memorial High School in the area of math, there are 30 sections being offered for an average class size of 22. There are 7 ICT sections of math with an average class size of 22. There are 5 special class sections with an average size of 7. In the area of,
The other one was English. This is math.
okay, did I move on quickly?
Yes,
Okay,
that's fine.
all right. And so, did I review this slide?
No.
Thank you. So in math, and I stand corrected, previously it was ELA. I appreciate the feedback. There are 30 sections of math. The average class size is 18. We're offering 6 ICT sections of math, average class size 20. And there are 5 special classes with an average size of 5. In the area of science, there are 26 sections being offered at the high school with an average class size of 19, 8 ICT sections, average class size of 21, and 5 special class sections with an average class size of 7. In the area of social studies, we're offering 33 sections with an average class size of 22, 8 ICT sections, an average class size of 23, and 6 special class sections with an average class size of 8. As it pertains to student schedules, master schedules in each building are complete. All buildings are working in the next 2 weeks to create schedules for new and incoming students. The high school will make the necessary adjustments once the summer success grades and region scores become available. The middle school and high school will provide schedules for students attending their orientation sessions. And our schedules will be available in the parent and student portals beginning August 29th. As it pertains to our school mascot litigation, we want to give the board and the community an update as to where we are, and I'm sure there may be discussion later to add to this. Some time back, the Amityville School District decided to participate in the school mascot litigation process. We are represented by Sokoloff Stern Law Firm in this litigation. So based on the response from our attorneys today, Sokoloff has completed a response to the State Education Department's motion to dismiss this case. And they've completed the deposition of a key employee at the New York State Education Department. Just as a reminder, we have until June 2025 to comply with Part 123 of the regulations of the Commissioner of Education relating to prohibiting the use of indigenous names, mascots, and logos by public schools. The board did set a threshold of a certain amount of money that would not exceed in this litigation. You see the current school logos that we have in use. These are the logos that are on letterhead, athletic paraphernalia, and around the school. And so as we move forward, you will hear more as to whether the district will begin the contest to select a new mascot logo, or whether we will receive an extension, or whether we will win the litigation. At this time, I would like to introduce Mr. Alessandro Galina. He's our Director of Facilities. He hit the ground running July 1. Welcome to Amityville. No grass has grown under his feet, and he will come and present an update on the tennis court project, as well as some other facilities matters. Mr. Galina, welcome.
Thank you, Dr. Talbot, and Al is fine. Alessandro's a mouthful. So, as everybody is aware, our east side courts have these huge cracks in the foundation. We have puddling issues, and my understanding is these courts were put in around 2020 or 2021. So I'm going to give you an update on where we are as far as how we're going to address this issue. So H2M Architects provided 4 separate construction cost estimates to replace the 4 easternmost courts, including asphalt and or synthetic turf surfacing. That's something that I had suggested. That doesn't necessarily mean we have to go that direction. And it's both suitable for tennis and pickleball. H2M is also working on providing a repair estimate. Now, repairs are different than replacing, and they're considered temporary fixes and projected to remain intact for about 3 years. And I'll show you that on the next slide, what we're talking about there. A bullet grant from Assemblywoman Jean-Pierre provides $325,000 for capital construction. The district is recommending this amount to partially fund the tennis court project. The estimate received from H2M for the tennis court projects is $1.3 million. It's anticipated that the remaining balance will be budgeted in the 25-26 school year. So on the right, what you see with the fencing is correct. Oh, thank you very much. So that substructure there is the old tennis court. So what that tells me, and again, I wasn't here in 2021, was that they just put the new surface directly down on the old. I don't know how they prepped the old surface. I have to believe that the old surface wasn't in good condition when you put the new surface down. And so due to that surface being there, in addition to there being no blocking on the west side of the court, allows the water to get in through all the cracks, go underneath, compromise the structure, and now it's spreading. So on a normal tennis court that isn't on a level surface, you'll get some minor cracking, but not like the cracks that are showing on these east side courts. So I included on the left side the armor crack repair system option. It's very new. Our architects are looking into doing this type of surfacing, and what this is, it's a membrane material that goes down over the crack about 6 inches on either side. And what happens is as the surface continues to crack, the material flexes. So you don't even know there's a crack underneath it. Obviously, we backfill the crack before we put this stuff down, but this type of repair has been successful for like 3 to 6 years of lifespan. So it's fairly new, but it's an option that we can explore if we don't want to do the replacement. Okay. Now I'm going to update you on the generator project at the middle school. So the generator project was introduced in the 22-23 budget for $800,000 and approved by voters in May of 2021. One of the main purposes of the generator was to provide power for central food storage, which is located at the middle school. So the need for a change order arose due to discovering 2 roof drain wells while excavating at the generator location site. The wells were not on the original blueprints and were not picked up during toning due to being made of concrete. And you're going to see the picture in the next slide. The estimated cost of the change order is $32,663.13, and it includes these possible options. We would inspect the roof drains via cameras to locate any possible damage or breaks, and to follow the roof drain lines to the pools underneath the concrete, the asphalt, excuse me. Additional excavation is needed to determine if there are more wells present. Right now, we only see 2. Our architect is under the assumption that there may be more. Also being considered is abandoning the exposed wells and putting in a new deeper roof drain well to the north of the generator site. And I'll go into that further with the next slide. So the initial plan was to cover any projected cost overruns, that is over the 800 from the school lunch fund. So here you see the generator site. We are looking from the south to the north. That's one well. That's the southmost well. And then you see the second well just right on the edge of the structure. Now you see that little hole there on that second well? That was a leader pipe that went from one well to another that was broken during the excavation. So it was okay, but it got broke. However, when we pulled the covers, both wells were dry, which means no water is collecting in them. So where is the water going? I did include the picture of what we discovered, but when we put a flashlight down in the northmost well, we saw that the leader pipe going into that well was collapsed. So my assumption there is the water that's coming off the roof is just basically going into the ground. So what that's going to cause is sinkholes in the future. It could be 10 years, it could be 5 years, it could be 2 years. We don't know. And until we rip up that remaining part, that remaining section of asphalt, who has the pointer? Outline, yeah. So no, all the way up. So by the truck, if you follow the curbing all the way around to the edge, we need to tear that all up to see what's going on. Now, this problem arose about a week ago. So luckily, the contractors have been continuing work on the interior of the building, roughing out conduit, running electric. So we're still on schedule as of right now, but we're looking for your support to do the change order so we can continue on and find out what the problem is. Secondly, this was actually a good find in a way, because if we had put the generator down some years down the road, we could be dealing with the sinkhole problem. So we're addressing 2 things at the same time. Okay, let's go to the next slide, please. Oh, we're missing one. Oh, no, that's it. That is it. I apologize. So yeah, so I had another picture in my head that I thought we were going to go to. So that's where we stand with the generator project. Sorry about that. Okay. So we're going to go over the energy performance contract that I just learned about a month ago. Did a little bit of research. I actually spoke to the project architect today for the first time over it. So if we can continue. So what we did was I queried the architect to give me a 1-page summation of all of the items that the EPC is going to cover. So this is what we have at the high school. We intend to upgrade non-LED lighting to LED technology. That's interior and exterior, so wall packs on the outside, classroom and hallway lighting and the such. Temperature control system upgrades. That's our BMS systems. We would upgrade the JACE units. We'd upgrade the communication so that we could more efficiently control air intake, temperature, and save money in those areas. There would be 31 unit ventilator replacements, otherwise known as UVs. That's the thing that the teachers put their books on and they block the air from coming out. So yeah, so there's a lot of original stuff, original equipment left in that building. So I look at that as a good thing on that one. Building envelope improvements, that's caulking, door weather stripping, smaller savings, but I'm going to guess savings nonetheless when they did the overall scope. Pipe insulation, steam trap replacement, as we have steam boilers at the high school, a steam boiler at the high school, and roof-mounted solar array installation. I did not even know we were doing solar, so that's fantastic. We'll move to the middle school. So I'm going to go quickly. This is all exactly the same thing as you see in the high school. Steam trap replacement, everything's there. Next school. So Northeast Elementary, 1, 2, 3, 4 are the same. So there's also a roof replacement scheduled for Northeast and Northwest. I'm going to skip ahead a little bit, along with the roof-mounted solar array. Now, I tried to dig into the solar aspect of it. I'm not a fan of mounting the solar array directly to the roof, because that's going to cause you problems in the long run with leaks, with compromising the integrity of the roof. So the roof replacement is an EPDM roof, and what that is, it's a membrane that goes over the existing roof. Now, the membranes are actually very hardy. They're usually warranted for about 20 years. And in my last district, we had roofs that were out of warranty for 10 years and there was still no leak in the building. So it's not a bad fix. But again, like I said, this is what my research led me. I really like to sit down with the architect and speak to him more and dig into what else they had decided to do. But it is a good thing that we're getting those roofs basically an extra layer to protect the envelope. Let's go to Northwest. So the only difference on Northwest is they're going to install controllers on the walk-in freezers and the coolers, basically just to control temperature and possibly realize a little electrical savings there as well. Next. Park Avenue. Everything's the same. They also have steam boilers, so steam trap replacement there, and same thing with the controllers on the freezers. And then lastly, at the administration building, temperature upgrades, steam trap replacement as we go off the same power plant as Park Avenue, and the non-LED to LED technology. So that's everything with the EPC, and that is all I have. So thank you very much for letting me present. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. At this time, we're going to move on to the Citizens Budget Advisory Committee that has been talked about for quite some time. And taking
Dr. Talbot, excuse me one second, I'm just
question.
I'm gonna say, ask the board if there are any questions.
Sure.
On the items. So
Mhm.
what I'll do, I'll go from this direction and I'll start with Megan and go around and see if anyone has any questions. Right, so Megan, go ahead.
That's okay.
I have questions on each section, so should we go?
Yeah, just
so
whatever
just
questions
do
you
like
have.
Class size and then go on, or should I do?
No, just ask all your
mine?
questions that you have.
All of mine
Yep.
at once.
Yep.
Okay, so thank you, Dr. Talbert and Mr. Galena. Thank you very much. The classroom size information is very helpful, and I think the community wanted to hear it. It would be interesting in the presentation didn't include, like, on average, how much each class went up. Like, I mean, I know a little bit from experience, but yeah, could you answer that?
Yes.
Okay.
That is actually what we were planning to do for 828. We're
Okay.
still, and we can come back and do a comparison, and that's what we wanted to do, but we wanted to at least provide what was available to us today.
Sure.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. The one jumped out at me, the 2 6th grade ICT classes with the average size of 27 seems a bit high for those classrooms that are with the enhanced needs of the students in that room.
Yes. So we are monitoring all of those numbers. The ICT classes do have 2 teachers. Some of them may have a teaching assistant. Some of them may have an E&L teacher as well. And so
Okay.
we'll look at those 2 in particular to see
I
the
see.
makeup.
Okay. Thank you. I was jotting down as you were going, so I just make sure okay, as far as the mascot, we have to comply by June of 2025. So if we determine that that's the direction we're going, when do we start to have to take action on the improvements?
So in the budget planning process, for 25, 26, there are certain items that we are prepared to include.
Right.
if we have to make changes. And Ms. Bawatsi, are there any items in the 24-25 budget as it pertains to the mascot that we talked about?
Yes, we are budgeted about $195,000 for all.
Just bring your mic closer.
Yes, this include stripping the gym floors at all the schools and replacing them. And the bleachers at the high school will be replaced. So we are going in steps. And if you recall, we also had uniform replacement, but we took it out. We want to do those in phases.
Right.
That's why we had to take it out. But next year, if we are required to do it, we will go even deeper, identify some of the things that we were not able to do with the 24-25 budget and put in more money for that.
I see, thank you. And but from like a construction perspective, when would we need to take action?
Just come to the mic first.
So we're in a unique situation right now where we don't even have an idea of what we would put down on the floor if we stripped away what's there. So kudos to Fred Metzger, the outgoing director. He had budgeted to have all of the buildings screened and coated as opposed to sanded and coated. So we already had that in there. So everything's going to look great for the opening of the school year. Unfortunately, we'll still have those old logos, and we really do have to hold off until we know definitively. And Dr. Talbot had filled me in when I came in. Her grand idea was to get the community involved, get the students involved, and try and get something that everybody could agree on. Once we have that, once we have a logo, then we can hit the ground running. So there's a lot of stuff in place that I can move on. However, because we have another year, we're at liberty we have a little wiggle room is what I would say.
Another year, June
Well,
2025?
Yeah, so you're looking at right, almost a calendar year. There you go.
Okay, I agree. I think that it could be very uplifting, and if we engage with the community, if we do end up changing the logo. So thank you. The tennis court update, I mean, certainly, I'm sure everyone at the table, raised their eyebrows and said, we don't have the cost to replace the tennis courts. So I'm happy that you're looking at a repair estimate.
Yeah.
Is there another repair estimate besides this membrane repair?
So-
It's just filling? Yeah.
And I'm glad that you brought that up. So obviously we saw those numbers and we knew that that really isn't a viable option. However, I kind of had to present them because to do anything else to those courts is basically delaying what we're going to eventually have to do, which is to replace those east side courts. Because no matter what we do, the conditions are going to just continue to degrade and we're going to continue to throw money at them. And that's not fiscally responsible, in my opinion, anyway. So H2M is getting their estimates, and I spoke to Jason Smith, our architect. He said by the end of the week, he would have numbers. On the outside, I've solicited 4 different companies for bids for that particular repair, the armor that I was suggesting. However, in this case, because the repair would probably be over $10,000, it would still be something that the architect would have to do. But at least I would have 4 estimates against what the architect has.
Yeah.
And, we'll try and do the best by the district. in that way.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
The generator update, I just want to reiterate that your cost estimate here for the change order is sort of like a base scope because you could find more as you dig further.
That's correct. So I don't want to panic anybody by saying this is a low estimate. It's not a low estimate. It's actually a high estimate. And so that estimate having the inclusion of the new well, my educated guess is that we won't need that well, because I think that if there is another well, we can pipe to that. And then the worst that we would have to do is tunnel across not tunnel, but break the road across and tie into the catch basins on the other side of the road. So we would connect that well basically to what's there. We could abandon those 2. We wouldn't have to remove them. We just fill them up, put the generator down, and off we go. And that would be much less than 32,000 if we were going to do it that way.
I see. Okay, and the goal is to do this before school starts.
It is, and
Okay.
again, we need to get moving on it. is what it
Okay,
is.
all right, understood. I feel selfish here. I'm gonna go.
I appreciate your question.
Yeah,
I-
you're
yeah,
asking
I
a
don't-
similar question.
Yeah, I want to be as
Sure.
transparent as possible.
Okay, energy performance contract. This is the most I've ever learned about the energy performance contract, so thank you very much. For the middle school, have you been able to ensure that there's no overlap in this contract with the capital project? Or you?
No, I have not. And that's interesting that you say that because again, I did allude to the fact that I only spoke to the project architect for the first time yesterday.
Yes.
They're still waiting for the timeline from the state when this project is going to be released and come out. So we're not even ready to go as it is from a finance perspective and from a permit perspective.
Sure.
And can I jump in?
Sure,
Yes,
absolutely.
we did look at the middle school project and we removed scope if there is work that is already going to be done from the budgeted money.
Okay, all right, great.
Thank you.
Northeast, wondering if we should be investing in the building, just saying that out loud, since we don't really have a firm plan as to how to.
So what I'm going to say now is my opinion only. I agree with you. You know, I know what the situation was with that building when I came in. And so the way that I look at it is if we improve that building's envelope, whether we decide to open that in 25, 26 or not, we may have the ability to rent that building out to an outside organization like Eastern Suffolk BOCES or whatever. So if we improve it, it's still going to be in Amityville's favor.
Okay, my head was there too, but I saying it out loud. So then just overall, like, how do these recommendations compare to the district-wide plan that H2M put in place? Like, for example, you're doing, 14 rooftop units at Northwest. Is that what H2M recommended should be done, or did they recommend a bigger, like, more holistic upgrade?
So the 14 units are all located on the.
Well, that's just very specific, but
Yeah, but I'm alluding to that. It's funny that you say that. So
Oh.
those units are all original to the, what is the partition, the portables, that supposedly are supposed to be temporary.
Mhm.
So all those units have all those old machines up there and they're all failing and, we're trying to keep up with fixing them and stuff. So that would be a net positive by replacing those 14, even if we're going to a different direction in the future, to have brand new units up there that actually operate efficiently.
Hmm.
That's the way that I look at that particular spot of it.
okay, I'm gonna pass the mic. Thank you
Right,
very
right.
much.
Oh, no
So-
problem. Thank you, Ms. Messer.
I'm gonna jump in and then I'll go another direction. So just for the courses, AP courses were not included in that count, okay? So we don't know the number for the AP courses.
The AP courses are lower than what the average course numbers are,
Okay,
and we can provide those in the future, but they're low double digits.
okay. The mascot, if I recall correctly, what was the final amount for the litigation for the mascot that we approved as a board? I think it was a low 17 or something.
About 17,500,
And I think we spent so far about,
9,700.
okay. And we have no idea when they're gonna finish. John, I'm putting you on the spot.
Yeah.
And I know you're not legal.
Not the council
Yeah,
handling this matter.
right.
However, their deadline for summary judgment is November 2024.
Okay.
So
we're
right
coming
now,
to an end.
they are defending, they have put in the response to the motion to dismiss by the state.
Mm.
They have deposed a key employee of the state education department. So discovery is nearly complete. The next phase would be a motion for summary judgment. The deadline for filing that motion is November 2024. And a motion for summary judgment takes the law and the facts. And in most cases, summary judgment decides a case. Other case would, beyond that would be trial, but for the most part, summary judgment is a major part of that litigation.
Okay, and Dr. Talbot, would the plan be to just go ahead and move forward and start the process for maybe looking at another mascot logo, just so therefore we are ahead? And I think the second part of the question is, John, if we start, we don't have to complete everything by 2024 for changing, but we just need to be in the process of removing the logos, or do we have to have everything off by June of 2025? That's my question. Everything has to be off.
I will research that question. and get
Okay,
back to you.
just, Okay, thank you. And then my last question is in regards to the energy performance. When you say in there about the solar,
Excuse me, President Johnson, I just wanted to add one comment about the
Mhm.
mascot. Senator Weeks, on our behalf, did submit an extension
okay,
request for Amityville to be granted more time. And so I've reached out to her office for a status update on that. And our rationale was due to our financial situation. If we could have additional time, it would be great. She submitted the extension on our behalf, and hopefully we'll have a status update soon to provide to the board.
okay, thank you. And the last thing that I have in the energy performance contract, the scope of work, where you have the roof mounted solar array installation, and you have the high school, we have the middle school, and then we also, if I remember, it was northwest that I saw.
It was both northeast and northwest. Would be
So-
getting solar, and those two buildings would be getting EPDM roof replacements.
Maybe it's me, I thought that the solar was only gonna be at two schools. I thought it was just, actually, I thought it was just gonna be at the high school. I don't remember being at northeast and northwest. That
Okay.
was,
I can definitely look into that.
Yeah.
I'll speak to the architect and find out
yeah,
in definitive terms where the solar is gonna go.
Yeah, I-
Again, like I said, I just started digging into the contract, looking at the different things that have been proposed, not proposed, but agreed upon apparently. And I'll get back to you with a better answer.
yeah,
on
that would be
one.
great, because I
apologize.
think it, I think it was just the middle school we were talking about. I don't remember the
Well,
other schools, but just, I mean, if you can find out and just,
absolutely.
all right, go.
Thank you.
So then I'll go in this direction. Wendy, do you have anything? Oh, one question. Go ahead, Carol. and then I'll-
Dr. Talbot, just question around our remedial programs. I understand why they're not included because we have to obtain benchmarks for those that will access the program, but toward the end of September, can the board expect a presentation on the remedial programs?
Of course.
Okay.
And throughout the month of September, you will be hearing from the building principals of each school, and they'll delve deeper into their programs and action plans in their respective buildings. But we will certainly incorporate that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Wendy?
Yeah, I have a couple of things. So Northeast, I see that the enrollment's about 102 students, and it was very low at the end of last year. So does that mean that our outreach worked? Didn't you mail things home and like, would you contribute it to that?
There has been an increase, and the principal and faculty and staff have definitely been reaching out ongoing. We also had the digital signs around the community for the parents to be aware of registration. And yes, we do believe the outreach made a difference.
Good job. I am concerned that schedules are not going to be available till August 29th. That's right before school opens. A lot of schools, their schedules have come out already, and we seem to be behind the ball on that a lot. I have a question. Are guidance counselors in the week before school?
So the schedules are ready now, and the orientation dates, the students will receive them. Are the orientation dates next week? Yes.
Wait, so
So
did I read that wrong? Because I thought it said schedules will be available August
In the
29th.
portal, in the Infinite Campus portal on the 29th. But they are complete and they're ready now, and they will be distributed at the orientations at the schools next week.
Which is next week.
Yes.
Okay,
And then parents can also, and students can also access them electronically on August 29th.
okay. So our guidance counselor is here a week before school starts?
Yes.
So they can make any scheduling changes, the kids? Okay. The tennis courts? What is the estimate for that? I thought you mentioned 10,000, but I'm not sure is that
No,
correct?
So basically, when you do work over $10,000, you have to do a bid
A bid,
process.
right.
You can't just do that. So even though I'm soliciting bids from these individual companies, I'm very well aware that once I get those prices and they all show out to be over 10,000, then we're going to have to get the architect involved and actually put out a bid.
Okay, so I understand what you were saying, that you're putting a Band-Aid on the problem, that it's only going to be a couple
Correct.
year fix, but,
Pretty strong Band-Aid, though, I'm
but
led to
I,
believe.
I'm sure you realize we have no money.
Correct.
Like
do.
my priority is to bring back teachers and staff for the
Yep,
kids.
understood.
Okay. Sorry, just one second. Oh, the generator, the 32,000, change order. So it can potentially go higher.
It can potentially go higher and it can potentially go lower. Right now, that's the price that the subcontractor gave. And then whatever the soft costs were included from JVR Electric, who is the prime on that job.
Okay, so do we have money in the budget for this?
We do, that's.
Just
why-
go into the mic, please.
Yes, when the budget for the generator was put together, because the school lunch program was going to be the primary beneficiary of it, any funds that exceeded the $800,000, we were going to use the school lunch fund, which is very healthy.
So how much would you say of a cushion we have in that fund? Should it be more or something else arise?
It is very tight. The $800,000, in fact, we're discussing it today. It's just about, we are just there because of this change order. So anything else, if we should have any more change orders come through, we have to go to the school lunch fund to get money for it.
Right, but so if it comes in higher, we would have to go to the school lunch fund. Okay. Oh, about the mascot. I understand wanting to solicit the community and get them involved, but my understanding is that we have an A right now. And we have an A as so if we're limited on money, right? My goal is really to bring staff back, teachers and staff. Why would we incur the cost of having a new mascot to have everything redone? Why not just use the mascot, the A, not the mascot, but you know what I mean, the lettering, whatever you want to call it. Why wouldn't we just leave that? Why would we want to incur this extra cost? Like, I would think the priority is staff and not the, what would you call it? The
Logo.
the logo. Thank you, the logo.
I think that as we move forward, I think what we're gonna have to decide as a board. We're gonna have to decide as a board, do we want to go out and solicit information from the community, from teachers, from parents, from students, as to whether or not we want to go with a new logo, or we just want to go to the letter A.
Yeah,
So
but,
it's just, I'm just saying that we have to make that decision. I hear what you're stating.
yeah, but I guess, and what I'm asking is, I don't know that we should go out to the parents, the students, and the community and say, do you want a different mascot? If somebody asked me, I'd say, or if I have a kid, I'd be like, draw a mascot. This is your opportunity. This is great. It's a great opportunity. It sounds great. But do we have money to incur that cost then to change the letter A when the edit letter A is sufficient, I guess? I don't think we're in a financial position to do that. That's my 2 cents.
Keep going.
Okay, I'm almost done. So the gym floors, I know that came up and it was stated like the whole gym floor would have to come up. Why would the whole floor have to come up and not just the area, a specific area?
Because if you just did the specific area, it would stick out like a sore thumb. It would almost look like you spilled something, you cleaned the one spot, you didn't clean everything else
But
around
can't
it.
you sand it in such a way or, shellac it in such a way that it matches? I would think that people have to do this. If something fell on it, if something broke, if something, there was damages, I just feel like I would ask you to explore that if
No,
you can.
I understand. and
Because I would
absolutely
not
will.
want to incur that huge cost. Again, I want money, to go back to kids.
Okay, so if I could speak to the logo question that you had.
Yeah,
So I think the expenses that you're talking about, if we were to switch the logo, would just be in the design costs for whatever the new logo is, because we're already forced to take up the old logos and take down the old banners. We have to put something else up, whether it's the A with Amityville below it or a new logo. It really shouldn't be that much more either way that we go, because we're still going to have somebody design that A in the Amityville and make the stencil and put it down or stitch it into something. So.
but I think we already have it on uniforms and so forth. I think we
Well,
have it on
says
something.
Warriors, of course.
Oh, it has A and
That's
it
the
says
problem.
Warriors?
Otherwise, we could just stay
Oh,
with that.
okay, I
So if-
misunderstood.
Could you please go back to that slide with the logos?
Oh,
on
okay,
there?
I
So No,
misunderstood
no, no,
that.
that's fine. That's completely understandable because I didn't know either coming in. So if you see on the left, the Amityville, the A with the Amityville underneath it, all the way on the
Yeah.
left.
Oh, see, yeah, that's what I thought it was, all the way on the
Right,
left.
no, what it is it's that Amityville with the Warrior script, not with the Amityville below it, but the third, correct. So that's the one that the district is primarily using now.
So we're not using the one all the way to the left, that just is
No,
the A?
no, we're not. That's something that I believe the athletic director had foresight that this was gonna happen, and he started kind of moving to that
Yeah,
logo.
that's what I thought, the uniforms have just the A, so the, okay.
Yeah, but we're still technically that third logo. So
Okay.
again, yes, you're right. We do have this. It's beautiful. We still don't know what the Amityville surname would be. It couldn't be Warriors. And then we could just haggle over what we would be, the Amityville what,
Right,
and use that logo. But again, as far as expenses are concerned, I will definitely reach out to the vendor that we have that's going to do these. And I'll say, hey, listen, is there going to be any huge difference in cost if we introduce another logo, or is it cheaper for us to go with existing? And I'll find that out for you.
okay.
All right?
Okay, thank you, that's it.
Go ahead, Caroline.
My question is for Ms. Boazzi. The 195,000 you mentioned for the logo change, is that in this year's budget?
It's in the 24-25. It's all over. It's,
You said something
Sorry.
that confused me, so I just wanted to clarify.
yes, we have, it's for various things in each of the schools, like the high school gym to strip, reline, sun, strip and strip, reline and resurface will be about $83,000. It's in the budget.
Yeah, I saw the itemized thing that Dr. Talbert gave
Correct,
us, but
correct,
if,
correct.
if we had to do everything, the money to cover it all is included in this year's budget. We don't have to-
No. I'm sorry. No.
Well, then, now I'm confused.
No, we did as much as we could in last year's budget. If there's any other thing that is identified, like the uniforms, we had to cut back on the uniforms.
Okay.
And we decided to phase it out over a couple of years. So when the uniforms, we have to start building our inventory of uniforms, beginning with the 25-26 budget. So there's a few things that we didn't cover in the 24-25 budget that we have to add on.
I think it's about 10 grand, because actually I did a quick sum of what you sent us, and it was like a little over 200,000. So not a ton, like 195 almost covers everything.
Most of it, but not all.
But yes, agreed, not all. Thank you.
Leslie, any questions?
Yeah, just a couple. I feel
Just
naive.
bring the mic.
I feel very naive asking this. Why didn't we have why didn't the company that did our tennis courts have a warranty or a guarantee? I never really got that.
So
Answer.
again, I believe the tennis courts were done in 2021 or 21,
Right, that
22.
wasn't that long.
There was a
ago.
2-year warranty. The cracks didn't start showing until 3. And let me tell you that when these companies do their work, that is on purpose. They know that if something's going to happen, there's going to be a certain amount of time. It's unfortunate, but that's the way it works. And because I'm going to take an estimated guess that the district at the time felt that it was fiscally responsible to put the new court on the old court because of costs then, that's why we're in the situation we are now.
So when we replace it, or if we do go that way and not just repair it, it'll only be another 2-year guarantee or warranty?
Correct, but if we replace it, we're going to do it right, because if you look at the west side
Right.
porch, there is no cracking. That was done the way that the east side should have been
So
done.
it's just the east side?
That's correct,
Oh,
because
the
it was
west
put
side
on
was done
the west side
differently.
was done at the
Oh.
same time,
Okay.
but it was done on a correctly leveled subfloor.
Mhm.
And so if you look at the west side, everybody's still playing on it. There, I mean, there are some
Right.
cracks, nothing that anybody's going to complain about. And the east side is a product of the decisions that we made in the past.
Right.
And
Thank you.
to Al's point, we had the warranty investigated by council. And we found
thought
out
we
that,
did.
yes.
Yeah, I didn't know if
Yeah.
the community knew or, and Dr. Talbert, the students are getting their schedules, or the teachers getting their schedules soon?
The teachers, that's a very good question. So teachers have access to Infinite Campus, and I'm going to defer to Mary. They have them already? Yes. Our soon-to-be Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum and Instruction has been already working behind the scenes. Teachers have access to their schedules. Thank you.
Wonderful. And one more question. How many students or children coming into the school do you anticipate, new students?
We're getting numbers on a daily basis from registration. And so we've had numbers trickling in like 2 a day. On an average week, we're getting maybe about 7 to 8 new students. And so that's the trend and the rhythm we've been seeing.
Thank you. Thank you.
Chris, do you have any questions?
Yes, just one for Dr. Talbert. With these registrations that are still coming in, do you have an estimate on what you think the enrollment will be compared to last year?
Well, right now, we're down about 100 students. And when we look at last year, almost just as many who registered, we also had that many to drop, give or take. It sort of balanced itself out. So I anticipate it's going to end up like that as well. And we'll bring an updated report on the 28th to see where we're landing, because school will be starting the next week and we'll better have a handle on those numbers.
Thank you. Move forward with the other presentation.
Okay. So last year, we talked about involving the community in the budgeting process. And that was an initiative of the board and a desire of our vision to collaborate with our community. The charge has been given to our financial consultant, Mr. Carl Frazier, who has been working diligently on a process that he's proposing to the board tonight. It has gone through some skeletal changes, so we would like to hear feedback from the board on where we land with it tonight and how we can move forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Talbert. Good evening again to the board. I am pleased, happy to be here talking to the board about a subject that I've been involved in for many years in my former district. The board, as Dr. Talbert has said, has given me the responsibility, the charge to look into assisting them with establishing a budget advisory committee. And so I've been working on this for the past month and a half or so. And generally speaking, when a board is asking for this type of committee, it's because, not necessarily this board, but generally, it's because of many budget failures over the years. Community members are disenchanted, dissatisfied with what's going on in the community. Budgetary issues occur that are forcing them to have a committee formed. There's complaints about transparency. That's also a reason for this. So, and of course, communication. So the board has asked me to look into this and provided information that would allow them to move forward with this process. So I had done an initial review based on my experience doing this, and also with talking to my colleagues around not the state, but Long Island, regarding what they have done in their districts when they have formed budget advisory committees. So with that information gathered, I have come up with a packet which I've left with the board that we will be reviewing this evening. We had, about 3 weeks ago, I had given the board a preliminary packet, which was also a draft, and the board had come back with some questions. I have since updated that initial estimate, and now in front of you, you have an updated draft of the Budget Advisory Committee packet. So so the first document that is included in your packet is the Board of Ed policy regarding Citizens Advisory Budget Committees. So this policy provides the board with the authority to form a Citizen Budget Advisory Committee. And within this policy, everything that's listed is included in the work that I've done so far in assisting the board with establishing this committee. The hope is that once this presentation is done, once this presentation is complete, with the board's response and with recommendations for changes, we can finalize it and move forward. There are some dates that are included in this packet, and I will go through it with the board. And certainly you can ask questions regarding the process. So again, the policy that's listed that you have with you is most of the, or all of the information is addressed in the packet that you have. So the second item on the, in your packet is the parameters for establishing a Citizen Budget Advisory Committee. And I'm going to read most of this for the benefit of the board and also for the community members so that they can understand. Because eventually, the information will be put out on the website for community members to review and decide whether they'd like to be a part of this committee. So in terms of parameters that are established for Citizens Budget Advisory Committee, determine the selection process for identifying members from the community. First, discuss at a public meeting the board's intention to establish this committee, which we're doing tonight, formally. We will then send out an official letter of invitation to the public via the website. Now, the letter itself will, which is the next document that you have in your hand, will describe what is being asked of the community when they review the information. And also, the letter should include the size of the committee of no more than 10 to 15 members. And of course, the board will determine exactly how many members they would like to have in this committee. I've worked in the past with a budget advisory committee of about 10 to 12 people, and it worked well. And also the term of 2 years for members to serve minimally. Board members and board members and superintendent will review all responses and select these members, notify the members of their selection, and confirm their willingness to serve. An official appointment of selected members at a board meeting sometime in October. I believe we have a meeting in October on the 23rd. So at that time, I'm recommending that we can have these members identified, appointed formally. And up to 2 board members may serve as liaisons on the committee. I've also indicated here that meetings will be held monthly with opportunities to meet more often as needed. The first proposed meeting will be on November 12th. We have to set my meeting with a few of the board members. We established the date of November 12th so that when the committee is formed, they will put this date on their calendar as the first meeting date. And that would be at approximately 7 p.m. And other meeting dates will be determined and scheduled by the committee. The district will provide relevant financial documents to discuss with the committee. These would include a copy of the 23-24 audited financial statement, which we will have in place by November, which is the date that the committee will first meet. Appropriation status report for 23-24 and the 24-25 budget report, revenue reports, and the tax cap levy calculation. The committee will present their recommendations to the board sometime in the spring, February or March, prior to the budget adoption. And this date is set this way because should the board accept all or some of the recommendations made by the committee, we will have, I say we, meaning the business office, will have time to update the preliminary budget to include these recommendations. So timing is very important in terms of these dates that are set. And the committee's term will expire on the date of the budget vote. So that's general parameters in terms of how the committee is expected to go. Certainly, the board will have an opportunity to make any changes to these parameters based on their discussion. The next document is a notice to residents of the school district about the committee itself, the advisory committee. And in the notice, which will be posted on the district's website for everyone to see, there are some charges that I've included as part of the notice so that community members will see some of what they're expected to be doing. And I'll just say briefly, one of them is to analyze the working draft of the proposed executive budget. And this committee will be looking at the 25-26 budget to review that and provide feedback to the board. Examine mandated costs as required by state and federal regulations. Review the general budget publication as to its structure, composition, for purposes of clarity and understanding. Consider the impact of additional present and future tax increases in light of present local, state, and the national economic conditions. They would gain an understanding of the tax cap levy formula to determine how it affects the Amityville proposed budget. And lastly, they would provide the Board of Education and superintendent with a written and oral report each spring prior to the budget adoption, containing the committee's recommendation pertaining to the proposed budget. And in the notice, and you will see this on the website, it will say something to the effect that if community members are interested in serving on the committee, they would be completing the attached application, which is the next page we'll review. The attached application and respond by September 6th. That's the tentative date. If the board is okay with September 6th date, then that will go on the notice to residents. Now, the next document is the application. And this application, as I said before, I looked at other school districts' process, and this application, I've called it from another school district who had developed this, and I used most of what they had done in providing an application for the residents of Amityville. And the important part of this application, the most important part is the the information that's identified to help the school board, the Board of Education, determine which of the applicants who have submitted their application should be identified or selected based on their involvement in in committees in the district, based on their expertise, etc. So the application identifies people who are senior citizens, educators, parents of students in Amityville, and they will check one of these, only one. Homeowners, tenants, business owners, financial people. And this application, once it's finalized and posted on the website, would allow residents to use a Google bubble form using, and I've attached this to your packet, using the QR code. And if you would just use your phone and click on this, it's up there already. However, if it needs changes, we will adjust the document so that you can just click on the QR code, it comes up, and you can do your, complete your application. For those who are not savvy enough, a copy of the application that you have in your packet will also be posted so community members can print it, fill it out, and mail it back to the district. And the last document that you have there is the total detailed charge of the citizens that would be involved on the committee. Part of this charge that you have, I've already identified. However, I'd like to point out that there's a term that's included in as part of the chart. The term, as I indicated before, it will commence sometime in November when the first committee will meet. And the term expires at the annual budget vote or the date of a second budget vote if required, if necessary. Committee members, as I had indicated, will serve for approximately 2 years. And the board will decide on the number of members to be included on this committee. And just the structure of the committee. The superintendent will be an ex officio member of the committee, meaning that the superintendent will be called in whenever there's a question from committee members that needs clarification at the superintendent's level. And there would be 2 board members as liaisons. The board members are not committee members per se, but they will be there to assist with any information. Certainly the board members will bring back to the rest of the board what was discussed. And certainly there will be information in terms of minutes from each of the board meetings, from each of the committee meetings that the board will be able to use. There are other things in, all right, yes. So there are other things in the charge that the board can look through. And if there's anything that you need updated, you need to talk about, you need to change, please let me know so I can finalize this report and have it ready to go out within by or before the end of August.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to go, Carol, I'll start with you. Do you have any questions? No. Chris, do you have any questions?
Yeah, so two about the application. What is the significance of having the veteran distinction on the application?
You mean senior citizen?
No, and the
Vet-
middle
Oh,
row
veteran.
on the bottom, veteran.
Yes. Well, it's just another there's another category of a citizen or
Okay.
community member that once, if, for example, it's just, if that's the person's major identification within the community, and there's nothing else within the three questions that are asked, then the board may consider having a veteran on the committee.
Okay. And the business owner for a business in Amityville, the business owner has to be a resident?
Yes.
And does it have to be the business owner that's on the committee, or can it be like one of their employees, depending on what their function is?
Yes, if the employee lives in the district and would like to be a part of the committee, certainly they can apply.
Leslie, do you have any questions?
Yes. Has to be a resident.
Wendy, do you have any questions?
Yep, I do. A couple of things. First of all, we're going off of a policy from 2013. Policy should be updated every 3 years. So I think that this should, I know we have plans for the policy committee to meet, but this is 11 years old that we're going off of. So I think that this needs to be looked at before we do anything and to see if there needs to be any revisions. You know, every school district is unique, right? And has challenges and so forth. I think it's very ambitious what you did, and I commend you that you want to do this. But we have an engagement problem in Amityville. We have an engagement problem with parents, with community members. We can barely get them engaged. And now we're going to put all these parameters on them, that it's a 2-year commitment, that they have to have all of these things. Like, I find it to be exclusionary. I will tell you that I'm looking at this application and I'm reading this, right? First of all, the business owner has to live in Amityville. Why? They pay taxes. They should have every right to be part of this as well. Then it says list school community activities in which you're involved. That excludes people. Certainly, if somebody is a parent here or has kids here, grandkids, they're going to be more involved with this community. I mean, with the school than the community. Maybe there are people that have MBAs or financial consultants that aren't part of these community activities. Why would we exclude them? I think when we spoke about this, I personally has sat on a budget advisory committee for 30 years in my former district. This isn't really what I had envisioned. I'm not saying that it's a bad thing to try and get input, but it looks like a full-time job. I mean, we have the financial consultant, we have the assistant super of business, and now we're going to burden people to try and do this, which is very cumbersome. I'm not sure why we're making it cumbersome. When I sat through the budget committees, there was a lot of frustration. There was frustration that it was tagged to regular meetings. There was frustration that people couldn't ask questions in real time. And there was frustration that the meeting was so long that we lost so many people for those meetings along the way. They had their children at home, they had work at home, it went late into the night. And I guess what I envision is something that I was a part of, is that anybody can join. It doesn't matter your background, you know, and what we did is we gave different components of the budget to the people. Everybody got a copy of it. It was inclusionary, and people could ask questions in real time. And when somebody had a question, often somebody might piggyback another question, and they were robust conversations. And oftentimes it affected how the board viewed the budget, and there were adjustments made as necessary or as warranted or as, you know, as wanted. And I don't think this is gonna work in this district, I hate to say, but like we can barely get people involved now, and these are just really tight perimeters right now. And, I mean, right, that's basically what I have to say. I don't love this whole board, involvement, what you're involved in. I mean, that really pushes people out. Not everybody's involved in everything. I mean, there are a lot of people, seniors or other people that are busy that are not involved. There are groups and people should be commended for being involved in the community. But again, it's almost like we're going to tap these people on the shoulder. So again, you can do it. Why wouldn't we try to include anybody? Why would that be something that we would, weed out?
Right, so I'm gonna let other board members just provide, because people are just providing their feedback to what you presented. So Caroline and then.
I mean, thank you, Carl, for all the work you put into it, but I too had, the 2-year commitment just seems onerous. The whole budget process, it's intense for the year of the budget. I could see people wanting to get very involved 1 year and then saying, all right, 1 is good enough for me. So, thank you.
Megan?
Yes, I mean, I would echo Wendy and Caroline, and unfortunately, I'm a board officer that wasn't invited to the planning meeting for this draft that's presented here. So I would have said that at that time. I would think that the 2 years people would turn away from that. Nobody wants to make a 2-year commitment. And it's all very formal. It sounds like your job, to be honest, right? And we're asking the community to do your job, where in reality, me personally, thought, let's try to just engage with the community because they have such concerns with transparency, and they have talent. There's talented people in our community that could weigh in on things like, why are we going for a $27 million TANs later on in the agenda? So I agree. Thank you for putting this together. But I think we do need to kick it around a little bit more as a board.
Right, so I think that just a couple of things. One is that I was the only person that initially was invited to attend the meeting as the board president. And so then I reached out to my first vice president to see if that individual could attend. And I made the wrong assumption because I thought that my second vice president didn't have availability during the day. So now that I know that she does have availability, if there's another meeting that takes place, that I will let her know about if she wants to attend. That's number one. Number two, this budget advisory committee is something that came to the board's attention from last year's budget process. So the reason that we're bringing it now, the board is providing their feedback, and from the feedback that's provided, then we can either move forward or we don't do it. I think the good part about it, doing something like this, is that we do allow community members to be a part of the different process and providing input on a night and a time that is not connected to any budget presentation whatsoever. So they're working independently and will provide suggestions back to us. If we want to keep the term for 1 year instead of 2 years, I have no problem with that. In regards to other aspects of the application, I think that when we present it, if we decide to present it out to the community, one of the things that we'll be able to do is just say that we're just asking about whether or not you have any involvement in the school and the community. If you don't, it does not mean that you're going to be denied an opportunity to be part of this particular committee. So these are just suggestions that we have on the application if we decide to move forward as a board in order to do this. And as a board, if we decide to move forward, then the decision would be how much weight we're going to put to different aspects of it. I still believe it is a good idea. I still believe it brings a different perspective. I think that we should try. This is some of the things that we did get feedback from the community last year in the budget process. And if it doesn't work, then we don't go forward for the second year, but we have tried it for the first year. That's one. And then two, in terms of the budget meetings, as we move forward, one of the things that we are going to be doing is that we are going to dedicate just a separate day or separate time for our budget presentations. And that there'll be no other business that particular night, and that will allow for individuals to ask questions and to be more engaged. But by having these group of individuals be a part of the budget process, not be, to look at things independently and come back. And we can try it. And then I feel like we should try it, see who we get, see who submits, see who we select for the committee. And if it doesn't work, then we can go forward from there. And in regards to the current policy, we can always just take a look at the policy and see if the NISBA has any recommended changes for this particular policy. And if not, as a policy committee, we can do it. So I'm comfortable with continue to look at it. We're not making any decisions tonight. We have a meeting on the 28th. So we have all the feedback. We can continue to look at it. And on the 28th, we can say, after looking at it again and after hearing all the comments, we as a board decide not to do it, or we as a board decide to do it. So this is just the beginning, the first part of it, and then we'll go from there.
I just want to make a comment about something you said, like, you're saying for NISBA to see if they have any recommendations. When the policy committee meets, it doesn't always have to be what NISBA does. They can have sample policies, but we can make changes as well on that. And obviously council would go over that before anything's adopted.
Yeah, I'm aware of that. I'm
And
just saying
then,
that NISBA provides templates of policies. That's what I was
Right.
just saying.
Oh,
that we can
okay.
use it
And
as a.
okay. The other thing that you said is, you're saying that it's not gonna necessarily hold weight about the school of community activities, then why do we have it in there? Somebody might look at that and they might be discouraged and say, you know what, I'm not on any club or anything here, so I'm not gonna even bother because they're gonna get preference. If nobody's gonna get preference for that, then maybe that's not something we should include. The last thing, I said this before, there are a lot of business owners in Amityville that pay taxes. I think it's a mistake not to include them just because they don't live in Amityville.
Okay, and so the feedbacks that we receive, we're taking note, and then as we move forward, if we decide to do it, then we'll keep it or don't keep it.
That's why it's got
Good.
a draft on it. We are gonna revisit it and tweak it and whatnot.
Okay. Any other comments? Because I'm gonna move, if no comments, I'm gonna move forward, because we as a board, we have to go back into executive session. So my hope is that we'll be able to move forward and be able to go through the agenda, and at least by like 10:15, the latest, go back into executive session to continue to finish some discussions that we did not do prior to coming out.
So President Johnson, I wanted to thank Mary Stevens, our Assistant Super for Curriculum and Instruction, for her hand in the presentation tonight, and Mr. Galena for the presentation on facilities, Mr. Frazier for the updates on the Citizens Budget Advisory Committee, and thank you, Board of Education, for your time and attention. And this concludes our presentation for this evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you have any community input regarding board agenda items only? Yeah, that's fine.
Margaret Shuff, Amityville. Question on the tennis court. How many tennis courts are there in total?
I think it's 8. 8.
And how many are damaged?
4.
4?
Yes.
Okay. And I was wondering with the whole warranty type thing, which it probably is by design, that makes sense, but I'm thinking to myself, if something can be investigated into a company that only provides a 2-year warranty, when basically every time they do a new job and it's going to fail close after the second year, that's a problem. That's almost like a district attorney thing, that they're not providing the service of what you're paying them for. So that's just sidebar number 1. And number 2, who was the responsible person to make the decision on the scope of work that was done with the tennis courts initially? Like if it wasn't done properly to begin with, as this gentleman said earlier, say they put the surface on top of an old surface, et cetera, et cetera. So who was the responsible party who decided, on that? Was it a board decision? Was it, when Mr. Heller was looking over all construction type thing, he was the point person in that regard? Like,
No, it was part of the bond.
It was part of the bond.
It was part of
Mr.
the
Heller
bond.
wasn't on the board.
He wasn't
then.
on the board. It was part of the bond.
okay, so like the scope of work, when it was done, like who decided that it would be a good thing to put a new surface over an old surface and, those type of things, like
That was before we,
any
We're
of you?
here.
Okay, good.
Probably the GC.
yeah, I don't.
I'm
that-
sorry.
that was
There
bef-
was a bond.
It was a
committee
bond and it-
Overseen
yeah.
by the superintendent
Yeah,
at the
yeah,
time.
it was,
Guy was
we
the
weren't. Okay.
president.
Thank you
was
for
on
that
it.
context. And the other thing was, the generator. So is this the only generator in the district?
Dr. Talbot?
Yes, I think that's the only generator at the district.
Okay,
Yes.
well, hopefully by the next meeting, we won't think about it. We'll actually know if it's the only generator. Because if there's
Okay,
more than one
okay.
generator, then perhaps we could put this on the side table. And then if we have a power outage or anything like that, or even if you have to spend money on the generator was going to provide service in case of power failure for the food storage that we currently encompass for the entire district or for that building.
Entire district.
Entire district.
And-
It's
and-
central food storage. And let me put something in context here. You remember in December of 22, we had a power outage. And that was what froze all the pipes on the west side of the middle school. If we had this backup generator, that would have kicked in and that would not have happened. So it provides, it's something that we desperately need also.
So the sentence that states that the reason for the generator is for food storage is really inaccurate. You
No,
should have
that-
put the whole scope of why that generator would be, the use of that generator and why it is needed. To put just food storage, spoilage in case of power
No,
outage is not really the whole
context-
picture.
The context with the food is because the school lunch fund is contributing towards the cost of the project because they use it too. But it is a backup generator for the entire building.
Right. So when you talk about school lunch fund, that also threw me for a loop as well, because I thought that this district gets free lunch across the board, every kid, everything. So I'm assuming that the free lunch program is provided by the state. And so do they give us money and we spend the money accordingly? Do they so what happens if you had to go into the school lunch fund? So the kids aren't getting they're getting, Jello instead of rice pudding? Like I don't understand how you can dig
Okay.
into a
Yes.
fund that's feeding children. I
yes.
just don't get this.
Yes.
You gotta really,
We contract out our food service program. And over the years, because we have done so well, because kids continue to participate in the program, and because we have improved the quality of the food, we have generated profit over the years. And state law says that we should accumulate the profit. Your profit margin should be 3 times the profit that you carry. Fund balance that you carry from year to year should be about 3 times your operating expenses. We have exceeded that. So we have a little bit of surplus in the school lunch fund balance. That is why at that time, they decided that if they are going to do this project.
you can dig
And-
into that fund.
Correct.
Okay. And the other question was my third thing is you should really cut down these presentations to 1 hour period, end of sentence. And to go line by line by line, there's a collective way to display all the information. And then you can have the meat and potatoes of the presentation with you, but to sit there and go line by line is just monotonous and you lose people along the way. You lost me, I can tell you that. And I believe that's my only question. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Excuse me, any other community input on agenda items?
Good evening. I just had two things on the Budget Advisory Committee. My input, if anybody wants to hear it, is, I did serve as well, in my other district, 15 years. I was there from the very beginning after coming off a $2.6 million deficit. This is the way we put our community back together. It wasn't easy in the beginning, but we went into the community, we went knocking on doors, we went to the nursing home, we went, when the other seniors come in for day visit, we looked into our audience, and our most vocal people were the first ones asked. We did have 3-year terms, and we elected our own chair people, and we had representation from the stakeholder groups, the old-fashioned stakeholder groups, where you're not looking at a parent who happens to also be a taxpayer, and we'd never used one person to check off 4 boxes, which I know it's hard to find people these days, but we found them. Teachers were on it. A representative from each unit was on it. And the group selected their chairperson. The chairperson worked with the superintendent, who happened to also be our ex-finance person. So we didn't have that weird gap of superintendent and finance. We had one person doing it all the time. I found it very beneficial because it created knowledgeable people. It put knowledge into people's hands that we think they may have had it all along. I mean, I sat with teachers who were so angry that they didn't have the right supplies in their room, but they didn't even understand the process of how to get the supplies in their room. And there were never requests made, and there was no paper trail, and there was a whole education on how a budget's put together, and I found it very, very informative. But it was driven by the committee itself, with obviously the district. And at the end, there was a deliberation outside of the board, and the committee put their recommendations together. I found it very, very useful. I will agree with Ms. Trustee Canestro on the question of asking about school, what you do with the school district, what you volunteer in the community. That is going to get you in trouble, because based on just the election that just happened, it is insulting when people who volunteer all the time or are on these committees, and they publicly go after you because you either just moved here or you're too busy and you care very much, but you're not on a committee. They shame you. And I think that needs to stop. And I think that question should come off, because if somebody's putting their name, they want to do it. So it's just a silly question. And I've seen people at this podium put people down, not the podium, put people down from the dais, social media, because they've never held a position anywhere in the school district, or they've never visited the school.
So thank you for your comments. I've noted them down on the thing. Thank you.
I'm sorry, I did have another question, actually, too. So getting to the budget committee, which was extremely cumbersome in total. But my question is, I think you're saying 12 or 15 people. That in itself, I think, is a feat in and of itself. I think maybe 5 to 7 people would be great. I think we should try to recruit the best of the best. I think financial backgrounds are essential. I think a CPA is essential. I think those are the people you have to have a mindset of every type of angle that you could possibly want for the betterment of this district. So to sit there, I mean, yes, parents, taxpayers, business owners, but to put the parameters on them, you can have a process of almost like an interview on what they're going to bring to the table. And yes, to have, I think a meeting a month is almost a lot. I think there's different parameters. You could have them quarterly, you could have them, every, maybe every quarter or something like that. But I think what we're lacking is you need to have more information out there and let people know that the information is out there. Not have a bullet point, but actual explanations of what the mission is, what the parameters are and what the goal is and what the end goal, the mission statement and what the end goal will be. So to have a series of people, but the best of the best, because honestly, we need the best eyes on this whole district and to straighten it out. And the other thing was the whole logo and warrior thing and that whole thing. And when Ms. Bawati said something about replacing the bleachers. Now, I don't know what the bleachers look like. I don't know what, but I'm thinking there's so much technology out there. There's so many coverings that could be done. There's so many Band-Aids, and it really would be a Band-Aid, like to sit there and pull up a whole gym floor. There's logo technology. You can put one over the other and then shellac the crap out of it. I mean, there's other ways of doing this at a much better financial standing than spending $195,000, I think, or
Right,
maybe
so
I'm getting my figures wrong. But
we hear
we
you.
really have to think outside the box
Mhm.
on these repairs and replacements, but there's nothing that a coat of paint can't fix temporarily or whatever. And then when you become more solvent, then you worry about the logo and redoing the school the way and the district the way you want. But to sit there and to spend all this money, there are definitely other ways. Paint technology, there's so many other ways to go about it than to replace. Thank you.
No, thank you. Facilities person's here. He heard you.
Sorry.
I said the facilities person is here and he heard you.
I know.
Thank you. All right. We're going to move on in the rest of the agenda. All right, for agenda item 2A, 1 through 8. All right. At this point in time, I know there are corrections that need to be made, to the minutes. We do have the interim district clerk. And the only thing that I do request, if there's any changes that you have for the minutes, because I do have some changes as well, that if you want to send them to me, I can talk about Eileen. I would say merge them, we can merge them all together and send
I
them to
could just give
Eileen.
you a copy. I made notes if you want me to
Yeah,
do it that
if
way.
you have a copy, that's great.
Okay.
All right, because I know I have some things, and some things are minor on some of the meetings from June 5th all the way down to July 17th, but there's this minor correction, some are more. Same thing if you have anything, I appreciate it.
Sure. Yep.
All right, so I'm can I have a motion to table agenda items 2A1 to 2A8, please.
Make a motion. Second.
Megan Meston is first, Wendy is second. So as I previously just discussed, we're going to provide any corrections to the district clerk. If you have them now, we can make copies and give them to her. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries 7-0 aye. So Kevin, can I do agenda items 2C1 and 2C1? I'll do 2C1. Can I have a motion for agenda item 2C1, please?
Move it.
Wendy's first.
Second.
I think I heard Leslie as second. Any questions about this item?
No.
All right, seeing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries 7-0. All right, I'm going to come back to the draft agenda. Are we okay?
I just wanted to ask for something to be added. I wanted to know if we could have the new Director of Transportation give a report at that meeting.
So I was going to do, what I was going to do is just going to go through the rest of the agenda and then come back. But we'll do it now. So let's go to the August 28th agenda.
That's the only
Everyone,
thing I have.
pull it out very quickly. We're going to not quickly, but let's pull out that agenda for August 28th. All right. So for next week's agenda, we're going to have the district-wide safety plan. And we will also have the minutes back on the agenda again. So going down to agenda item 3B1 through 24, are there any questions or comments on agenda item 3B1 through 24? Three B1 through 3B24 for the August 28th agenda.
District clerk is stating that her agenda has 25.
She has 25 on her agenda for August 28th. All right, so yeah, it's 3B 1 through 25, yes. I'm missing one. All right, any questions on those items at all? All right. Any questions regarding agenda items 3C 1 through 4? Right, because it's cooperative bid for tree maintenance, use of facilities, certification of acceptance, community eligibility provision, school lunch, and district-wide safety plan. And there'll be a treasurer's report for 3D 1, and then for curriculum 3F1. Yeah. Here's the right one. Yeah.
Madam President, I have a question that I guess would go to all agendas. Could we have like issue numbers printed on these?
Yeah,
So like
that's
revision
the
1, 2, 3?
Yeah,
I
yes.
can't
It's-
find the agenda right now.
Right, I'm the same thing. We all have the draft agendas. We don't have the revised ones. Right, so the only thing, yeah, that'll be helpful. All right, so, the only thing that's different is that on the revised one is the district-wide safety plan. We have to add the minutes. And then Wendy, you asked a question about something else.
I asked if we could have a report from the new Director of Transportation, an update from him.
Mhm.
And just to reserve the right for old business and new business, depending on how this meeting goes, we might have things we need
Well,
added.
that was going to be my next thing I was going to
Okay.
say. Go ahead, Dr. Talbot.
So trustee Canestra, the district transportation coordinator, is already scheduled to present on the 28th, and we'll confirm all presentations. this
Great,
week.
thank you.
And I was going to ask the board, in the interest of time, because we have to go back into executive session, is it okay if we move the old business Board of Education committees, the new business student representative for Board of Education meetings, as well as under the Board of Education, those items 1 through 5, can we move that to next week's, to the 28th meeting? Is everyone okay with that?
Yes.
I mean, why?
Because
I know we have to go back, but to be honest, this is a business meeting and we have to do business of the district and we're just gonna have even more things and another presentation next week. Like when we're here to do business and there's an agenda, it's important that we get through it.
I'm making a suggestion. If the majority of the board wants it to continue for tonight, then we will. If not, we'll move it to next week. So the question that I'm asking, do you want to move old business, new business, and the reports to next week? Any of them, all of them, or none of them? So let's do the first thing. Do you want to, how many people want to move all the items, old business? I'll do one at a time. So for old businesses, how many want to move that to next week's meeting or leave it on this week's meeting? Speak up, and so that way we can.
Can we not go back into executive session and have that discussion tomorrow when we have a scheduled executive session?
Oh.
Oh.
No,
Why? No?
I mean, so that executive session was supposed to be for a
it's just,
specific purpose,
it's just for a
but
particular
you can
person.
Move things around. But I guess my question is in terms of, is there a motion on the table? Are you asking for a motion?
Yeah, I'm
to
getting ready to
table?
ask for a motion to move items, and that will be the question. The other thing is that the things that we have for executive session, are there any items that can be discussed on the 28th when we meet in executive session?
Sure, I could discuss.
So
all-
there's all of them, there's nothing that's urgent that we need to discuss tonight.
That's entirely up to the board.
Okay.
Yeah, so we can, I don't think there's,
Okay,
and let me just be clear. I think all the agenda items we discussed before
okay,
the board meeting.
Uh-huh.
So
All right,
there's
so
nothing
that's-
that can't wait till next.
that's my question. Okay,
Okay.
so then I'll leave everything as is.
Okay.
Okay, Perfect, thank you. So there's nothing on the table. So anything else for the 28th? There's nothing else on the table. All right. So I'm going back to the August 14th agenda. Everyone has the August 14th agenda. It was updated and emailed yesterday to everyone. All right, so we're back to that agenda. All right, I'm gonna do agenda item 3B1. Can I do 3B1 through 5 together, please?
Motion.
Second.
Wendy Knessel is first. Chris Nearen is second. Any questions on this agenda item? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 7-0. For agenda item 3B6, assistant principal. The name for the assistant principal, and I gotta pull it back out front, is Maria Cox Vineyard. And we are appointing her, we're recommending to appoint her as the assistant principal. And the resolution, if I could just get a copy of the resolution, so that way, because the committee does not have that resolution, that would be helpful. The interviews occurred tonight. So the resolution is be resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, Dr. Gina Talbert, that the Board of Education approves the appointment of the following individual as indicated. And it is Maria Cox Vineyard as the probationary appointment for the assistant principal at the high school. The effective date is going to be August 28th. And she does have certification status for the school building leader, and the rate of compensation will be $135,000 per year as the AAA contract. Right. Any questions about this item? Let me call for motion. Can I have a motion for agenda item 3B6?
Move it.
Leslie Kretz is second, so I kind of jumped the gun, but that was the resolution for that item.
Was there a probationary term?
Yes.
How many years?
Probationary term is 3 years. Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 7-0.
Congratulations.
You want to introduce yourself? So if you can just stand so the community can see who you are. Thank you. Congratulations. Can I have a motion to table agenda item 3B7?
Motion.
Second.
Megan is first. Carol Seehoff is second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries 7-0. Can I do 3B8? Down to 3B68?
No, I'd like to take it separate. I'd like you to go to 16.
All right, can I have a motion for agenda item 3B8 to 3B16?
Motion.
Second.
Winnie Canestro is first. Caroline is second. Any questions regarding any of these agenda items?
No.
Anyone? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 7-0. Can I do 3B17 through,
You do to 41?
yes, that's what I was gonna do. Can I do 3B17 to 3B41? Have a motion for agenda item 3B17 to 3B41.
Can we discuss first?
We discuss after.
We'll discuss after the motion. Right.
Motion.
Caroline is first.
Second.
Carol Seehoff is second. Any questions or discussion regarding these items?
So we were emailing back and forth about this a lot, and there are no first-year mentor appointments, correct?
As of today.
As of today, because there's no first-year teachers, correct? The second and third year mentors are not required by New York State, nor are they required by our contract, or if it's alluded to in our contract, we're not bound to it. Am I,
My recommendation is that you receive advice of counsel on this issue, which I am
thought we
prepared to
did.
give.
I thought you gave it via memo.
Did, but I did not have any discussion with the board on this matter.
Can we table then?
Is it something you can, we have to do it in private, then, you say it was public?
Well, my recommendation is to give my advice
Right,
in
okay.
private and
Okay.
it be subject to discussion.
All right, so I'm gonna make a motion to rescind this motion. I have a motion to rescind the motion, items 3B17 to 3B41.
motion?
Second.
Caroline is first, Wendy is second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Is everyone aye down that way too? Motion carries 7-0. All right, can I do agenda items 3B42? All the way down to 119 or even 170 or 206, or do you need anyone need anything separate? Chris, Leslie, anything separate? Caroline, anything separate? Megan, anything separate?
42 to 54.
All right, can I have a motion for agenda items 3B42 to 3B54?
Oh, first, Lisa, don't you have to pull those two items? Aren't you gonna pull them off the
Yeah.
agenda?
Yeah. All right, can I have I gotta move back then.
The motion to table.
Yeah, I have to table a motion.
Right, so you have the
Yeah.
motion to. you need a
Yeah,
motion to
can I have a
table
motion to
17.
rescind that motion of 3B42 to 3B54, please? Have to rescind that motion.
I don't think
Motion.
you took that motion. yet.
I didn't take it?
No,
I thought I took it.
I don't think you took it.
no.
Okay, so I don't have to rescind it.
Right.
All right. So I need to have a motion to table agenda item 3B46.
No. 3B17 through CB.
We already did that.
41.
No,
You rescinded it, but you
Oh.
didn't table it.
Can I have a motion to table agenda item 3B17 to 3B41, please?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Megan? Yes. Wendy, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 7-0. So now it's agenda item 3B46 and 3B50. Those two items can have a motion to table 3B46 and 3B50.
Motion.
Second.
Wendy is first, Chris is second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries 7-0. Can I do 3B43 through 45, then 47 through 49, and then 51 through 54 together?
42.
Yeah, 42 through 45, 47 through 49, and 51 through 54. Can I do those together?
Motion.
Yes.
Okay, so
Second.
3B42 to 44,
45.
45. And I have my glass, 3B47 through 49, and then 51 through 54. And I think, Megan, you said motion.
Oh, Wendy.
Wendy?
And then
Wendy Canestro, Megan. Any questions regarding these items?
Yes, I have a question. I think that we were waiting on some feedback as to the documentation of this improvement team. And we had yet to receive that yet. As far as meeting minutes and communication and what it is that the improvement team has been working on.
So the questions that came regarding the school improvement team was if these members repeated a second year, if they served last year, and we provided the answers at all but one. Number 43 was not on the team last year because she worked at another school. The other question came regarding the minutes of the meetings that were held, and those minutes are filed at the building level. And
I think you said the principals weren't gonna be until 8/19 or something
the
like that.
principals return next week.
Yes, so
Yeah.
we can't get that for this vote.
Now, Madam President, if legal can just think on this, the school is deemed as a school in need of improvement, and a requirement is to have a school improvement team in motion to write the SEP, to progress monitor the SEP. And the board is requesting information that we do not have access to at this point. So
I think it's also too, is like if the information is needed for them to make their decision for tonight, and that will be the question. So do you need the information from the minutes to make your decision for tonight? And if you do, then if some people, we can try and vote for it. If it doesn't pass, then we have to go for it. So that's, and John, if you want to weigh in on it.
So the only thing I would weigh in on is whether or not you need the vote tonight in order to do this work to be in compliance with the state regulations concerning the creation of the SEP.
the vote would be helpful tonight. I have not received the schedule of meetings from the principal. I would know that they would likely meet on August 28th, being that is the first day back for Superintendent's Conference Day. Or they could meet on the 29th if the board needed to delay the vote until the 28th.
I'm wondering, I think we're meeting on the 22nd. Can we just delay it to the 22nd and have action at that?
So I think we just need to be careful, because one thing that we were trying to do was not to do any action items unless it was absolutely necessary. So there may be other things that come up. And if it's something that we move that over to the 22nd, then once again, if there's anything else that needs to go on the 22nd, the board needs to be willing to put other things on there as well.
Okay, so can I make a motion to table it?
First, I'd like to see whether or not the motion passes what we have. If it doesn't pass, then I'll make another motion to table.
Is that correct, council, that they should try to pass it if other trustees need information?
So whether or not you require the information to cast your vote is up to determination of each board member.
Yeah.
As to whether you have sufficient information or not, or whether you can vote now and get the information later. So that's up to each individual board member as to whether or not.
Unless that information changes the vote, that would.
Well, that's up to a board member. Whether
Right.
if you believe that the information will change your vote, then it's up to.
So are you in
independent
agreement to take the vote?
So
To see if it
in
passes
terms
or
of
not?
taking the vote or not taking the vote, that's up to the chair.
Right, and
Okay.
so I made a motion on the table. And at this point in time, each board member can decide whether or not they need additional information to make their vote. And if they feel like they need the minutes from the meetings, they won't get into roughly about the 28th of this month, then you'll vote accordingly, right? So the motion is on the table. So the motion is for the 3B 42 to 45, 47 to 49, and 51 to 54. I have Wendy as first, Megan as second. We've had a discussion at this point in time. All those in favor of this motion? Aye.
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 All those opposed?
I need more information.
So that's a no, right? That's opposed.
No.
Would that be a no, or would that
It
be an
could be
abstention?
That could be abstention.
I'm gonna
That-
abstain.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you need further information, but make the vote.
Okay,
you can
abstain for Wendy.
Abstain,
Okay,
Abstain.
Caroline,
abstain.
Megan. All right, so 4 yeses, which is Carol, Lisa, Leslie, and Chris, and 3 abstains, Wendy, Caroline, and Megan. Can I do agenda items 3B 55 through 114 together, or does anyone need to be done anything separately?
Can you go up to 112?
Can I have a motion for agenda item 3B 55 to 3B 112?
Yeah, motion.
Wendy's
Second.
first, Chris is second. Any questions on any of these items?
Are any of these appointments volunteer? I know we received something in the packet about volunteer coaches. Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? Seeing all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion carries 7-0. Can I do 3B 113
182.
through can I go all the way down to 206?
Can you go up to 182, please?
3B 113 to 3B 186.
So moved. 182, I guess. Please.
182. So 3B 113 to 3B 182. Leslie Kretz.
Yes.
Second.
Carol Seo. Any questions about any of these items?
Yeah, I have a couple of questions about this. First of all, I have a question. I see that we do a lot of these approvals for athletic supervision. I'm wondering, is there a reason why we don't have a blanket for all employees so that we don't have to do all these appointments? Like all employees can be supervisors, teachers have first right? Is there something that prevents us from doing that?
It's a position available in the district, and so it has to be posted. And so those who are interested apply to the posting. And then the athletic director selects those he'd like to recommend. That's the
So-
process.
So I know that that's the process right now, but I guess I'm asking, I'm looking for a more efficient way to do this. Why can't we just have a blanket that all employees can apply to be an athletic supervisor with teachers were first right, so we don't have to do this at every meeting for supervisors? Is there something that's preventing us from doing that to make it a little bit more
But-
streamlined?
But all
that's-
employees have the opportunity to apply for the position. We've never made it as, teachers have first right, and please correct me if I'm wrong. So, anyone can apply for the position. So one thing that we have talked about in the past is just making sure that there's equal ability for people whose names have been selected, that they all have an opportunity to serve in the role as an athletic supervisor. at one
Council,
school.
doesn't teachers have to have first right on this? or
No.
No.
They don't?
No, they
Okay.
don't.
So, the next question is, you said that they're picked through through Mr. Farkas, is that who they're picked through?
Yes.
And the process is what, first come, first serve? Or, because I just want to make sure that it's fair. I guess the reason I was bringing that up, so you know, is I was just thinking like, what if there's a new teacher? What if a teacher comes on mid-year? What if somebody decides they want to do it and they're not approved, then they have to
We
wait
add them
for the
on.
year? So I'm just saying, like, I was looking to try and make it more blanketed.
We add them on then. If there's, it's
It's
people.
No, I
drop off, yeah,
understand,
and people
but
add
like,
on.
this is
Yeah.
really long. That's why I was just trying to get around that. So as far as you said that Mr. Farkas makes a decision first come, first, is that what it is? First come, first serve? How does that work? Because I just want to make sure there's equity in who gets it and fairness.
So he vets those who apply, and he learns their interest as to what athletic events they would like to supervise. Some supervise them all, some only want to do soccer or basketball, whatever is their preference. And if an athletic supervisor does not pan out, he does not recommend them to continue the next year. But it is ongoing, it's not conclusive. So if there are new teachers who come on board, Dr. Waite, they do have the opportunity.
Okay, I have one more question about this. So who oversees the athletic supervisor? So these are the supervisors, like, if I'm understanding this correctly, say there's a volleyball game, you may have a security guard and then you may have a supervisor. So who is monitoring this to make sure we have an appropriate number of supervisors? So say a volleyball game, there might be one supervisor, possibly two, that we don't have 6 supervisors at a meeting. Who's monitoring that?
So the athletic director works with his 2 coordinators. There's one for middle school and one for high school. And they determine the number of supervisors needed based on the trend of average attendance, the type of game, and other factors that may play into that. And they assign 2, 3, 4, depending on the need.
Because last year, when the audit came out, it was a large number of supervisors, or I think it was supervisors they called it. Was it security guards? I think it was supervisors. And it was like too much for playoff games. There were so many, and like that was obviously a red flag to the auditors. So I want to make sure financially, we're not going to get in the position of just having like all these supervisors going to all the games, that there's some control in place to prevent that.
Yes, we worked closely with the athletic director this past school year in terms of assigning supervisors to the games. And I do believe that we finished in the black in this particular budget code. It was monitored closely,
Okay,
and we did not exceed the allotted amount.
okay, thank you.
Yeah, and I was gonna say, not to reiterate, but that was definitely addressed, and it was addressed, it was recognized that at some events, there was a large number of individuals that were there that were not needed, so it was
Right,
definitely
right.
addressed.
Okay, great, thank you.
Wendy, we did just approve the coordinators on 111 and 112.
Yeah, I wasn't sure who did it, if it was Mr. Farkas or if it was, those people. Okay.
Any other questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 7-0. Can I do 183 through 206 as well as 208 together?
Yes.
So 3B 183 to 206, as well as 3B 208. Have a motion, please.
So moved.
Carol Seoff,
Second.
Chris Neeren. Any questions or discussions around this item? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 7-0. Can I do agenda items 3C, 1 and,
Can we do it separate?
no, 207 I already did earlier. Yeah. Yeah, I did 208. Yeah, I did 3B 183 to 206 and 208. So we do it separately. Can I have a motion for agenda item 3C1, please?
Motion.
Wendy first,
Second.
Caroline second. Any discussion on this item?
Yeah, I have a question. Well, first a comment, then a question. The upward trajectory of TANs year after year is really,
Just speak a little bit more into the mic.
it's really alarming. Just for perspective, we spent 79,000 in 21-22, 428,000 in 22-23, 621,000 last year, and we did budget for it this year, 700,000. But that's a lot of money. That's 12 new teachers, 5 senior teachers. So I guess I just want to know what provisions are we making to not rely on TANs year after year? Because either the 27 million, that's 23% of our budget. So either we don't have a quarter of our budget, which doesn't make sense, or we're just not managing our cash flow and it's costing us
Yes,
a
we
lot of
have to
money.
build up our fund balance for us to not increase the tax anticipation notes. And let me go back to the point that you made about how much we paid. Those were the days when interest rate was even almost flat. So we go by what is going on in the market. Last year, the interest rate started inching up a little bit. But you have to take that cost, and you also have to take the interest income that you make. When we get the tax anticipation note, it doesn't sit And we use it, however, we invest the money too. So you are paying interest expense, but you earn interest also because interest rate in the last 2 years have gone up and we're making close to 6% on the monies that we invest. So it works both ways. You are paying more interest, but you are earning more interest income. On the other end, when we were paying so little interest expense, we were making so little interest income. So it balances out overall. It sounds confusing, but it balances out.
I understand what you're
But-
saying, but it's still like, you're saying that we're making interest to offset, you know,
The
the
cost.
the costs. Without seeing it line by line, I just find it, you know, I have to take it on faith.
Sure.
But that's rather scary because, you know, here we have all these votes we have to make. And I think that, you know, now we're $27 million behind schedule. So for every single vote, I think, can we afford it? Can we afford it? And sometimes you feel the pressure to vote no for things that you don't want to vote no to, but you see that you're spending $700,000 on debt financing.
Yes. Once the district's finances begin to work better and we have more money in undesignated fund balance, just like we did the presentation the last week, if we have more money in our undesignated fund balance, which we can use, it decreases how much money you have to borrow. So all those things the reserves play a role. If our reserves are depleted, we have to borrow more money until we get our tax revenues in late November and January. So
Wouldn't you say it's fair, like, to say, if we're in a position where we have to take out TANs, it's just a red flag that we're in trouble? Even if you could, like, you know, make other arguments for how, you know, interest were earning.
yes, it
Now,
shows a cash flow. Yes, it does show a cash flow problem. But
Yes,
without
therefore,
it, you can operate.
we
But
should
we have to work our way into a financial health, and that is the cash flow.
I totally agree with that, which is why for every vote that has to be made, I feel like it always has to be made with the mindset, we have to stop taking out TANs. So that's just my commentary.
It's all about timing also, because to borrow money, there's a cash flow analysis that's done, indicating that their cash is needed for a certain period of time until we start receiving our levy monies or state aid. So the monies borrowed are not used immediately. It's used over months. So we are able to invest that and receive interest income on it. But the amount that is borrowed is based on cash flow needs at the time. We're not borrowing more than we need.
We get our taxes twice a year, right?
Yes.
So shouldn't we be trying to stretch out that money during that time frame? And I guess my question is, what is your plan to, you know, limit the reliance of this? Do you have a long game plan for this?
That's exactly tied to the presentation I had to the board the other day. We have to continue to build our reserves.
So when it's
Once-
4%, you feel like we won't have to go to TANs anymore?
Oh, no, we definitely have to go to TANs because your cost of living is also going up. We have to, but to your point, we would not have to go to that level of borrowing. We can scale it back if we build up our family.
It would be great if we didn't have to do it at all.
Any other questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 7-0. Can I have a motion for agenda item 3C2, please?
Motion.
Second.
Megan first, Chris is second. Any questions regarding this item? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Wendy, did you? Aye. Did you vote? I didn't hear you.
Oh, yeah, I
Okay.
did.
All those in, 7-0, the motion carries. Can I do agenda item 3E1 through 3E6, please, together?
So moved.
Second.
Carol is first, Wendy second. Any questions on these items? Legal, you reviewed everything, right? So we're good? John?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, why?
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries 7-0. I'm going to old business. It's not a vote item. That's just a discussion. So now we're up to old business. So that's Board of Education committees.
Did you, can I talk
Yeah,
about this?
Yeah.
Oh,
That's what I'm saying.
okay.
yeah.
All right. I was reviewing like the audit committee. I know that there are seven, the board is the audit committee, but I feel, and it doesn't say, it says that other, employees can't be on the audit committee, but other people can. I feel like it's the board monitoring the board. I feel like it's a good idea to have some community members on there. On the audit committee, that's the first thing. I think that we should have a building and grounds committee. I feel like that's a routine thing. And you know, the audit committee, those committees' information in the memo that was given to us, again, they're from 2014. That's the last time they were reviewed. They're 10 years old. I know we're gonna go through them, so they could be revised, but, so I'm asking for the audit committee to have at least 2 community members. I'm asking to consider a building and grounds committee. I know the safety committee, we talked about that it's during the day, it meets once a month. I had recommended to ask at least police and fire. I understand Amityville and Suffolk County. I don't think it hurts to ask. I don't think it hurts to have them on there if they can do it. If they can't do it, they can't do it. I don't see the harm in asking.
Any other questions or comments in regards to the audit committee, building and grounds committee, and safety committee? For me, for audit committee, right now personally, I am fine with leaving it with the board. I don't have the desire to change it for this year, especially if we have the budget advisory committee. I think that I'm fine with leaving. I think that what we do in the audit committee, information that we receive in the audit committee is also information that is presented to the public. So at this point in time, I don't see a need to have to change it. I know other school districts, everyone does it differently in every single school district. Some have the entire board, some have community members and board members. So I know it's done in so many different ways. So I'm comfortable with leaving it as it is right now. That's just me. Building and grounds committee, I think it's a good idea. We just have to then establish what that committee would be and who would be on that
I
committee.
think
So-
like I have past experience. I mean, they would work with Mr. Galena if he had something to show the board. It's really just a point of any reporting to the board. I mean,
Well, I have no
or
problem.
if we don't want to do that, maybe we could just have Mr. Galena report at meetings. The director of facilities do a report at meetings, and then you don't have to do the committee. That might be a good idea too.
If I may say, Madam President. Go ahead. So presentations this year have pretty much been preliminarily scheduled. Mr. Galena will be reporting out on facilities as we move forward. We have to remember, we were 6 months without building a
Now he's got
facilities
a
director.
lot in front of him.
So yes, he is planned to report out. Our transportation coordinator will be reporting out at the beginning of the year, midway, and at the end of the year. So you will be hearing from.
I guess I was thinking like a little bit more informal under like reports. So, you know, Mr. Galena, do you have something to report on the school? We updated this or that, or the bus transportation. Oh, you know, just like a quick report. It doesn't have to be a presentation. I guess just to keep the board apprised of what's going on. Like, it doesn't have to be formal, a presentation, something very informal.
So I think, I hear what you're saying, Wendy. I think most importantly, we were just talking about the building and grounds committee. So if people want to, if that something the board wants to do, then we'll move forward. If not, if we just want to have a presentation, not presentation, or just an updated report, then we can do that as well. So anyone else for Building and Grounds Committee, or would you rather just have reports provided to the board? So, and even with the superintendent of schools, she can include that report in the
Yeah, that's
superintendent of
great.
schools.
Yeah,
Right,
that
so
would be
we'll
great.
So no Building and Grounds Committee then.
And I guess, anybody else have anything about the audit committee?
Yeah,
I know
anything else with the
myself
audit
and
committee?
Okay.
All right, so, student representatives for the Board of Education, I believe it's by next year, school boards will have to have a student representative on the school board. There is an article that I made a copy of that was, part of the National School Board Association, and I'll have Eileen make copies of it and provide it to the board, and just talks about having a student representative for the board. We as a board have to look at the policy, establish the policy, determine the criteria or suggested criteria of how that student will be selected for the board.
Yeah, if I could comment on this, we did this in our other district. It was actually really the highlight of meetings to hear the kids talk about the schools. What we did was we did it at the high school only because the kids were older.
Mhm.
And we had a boy and a girl. And there had to be a little guidance from the principals because sometimes the kids would get overambitious writing really, really, really long reports. So we tried to limit it for like a page just to do an update. And what we would do is after the kids, they reported at the beginning of the meeting. And then when they were done, we let them leave the meeting. They didn't have to sit through the whole meeting because they obviously had school the next year. So I just wanted to add that input.
Okay, and I know that, and that's why we also need to kind of look at the policy. I'm not too sure what's
I
being
think-
recommended if
yeah.
they're, because some boards do it differently. Sometimes they actually stay for the entire meeting. As you stated in your district, they did it slightly different. So we have to decide what we want to do for our
Yeah,
board here.
Yeah, okay.
Any other comments about the student representative? for the
I
board?
also think it's a good idea to re-implement shared decision-making, especially in our secondary buildings, so the student rep can sit on those shared making meeting committees and share what's going on, because it's a very comprehensive committee, and we really did accomplish a lot with shared decision-making, and I really think it's a good avenue for the student to sit on that committee and report back to the board and really know what's going on in each building.
Can you provide which policy that is to the board so that we know which one that
It
is?
was
Not,
shared-
not now, I'm just saying, like,
Yeah.
maybe send an email. Thanks.
Any other comments about this? Right. Community input regarding non-board agenda items only.
Hi. I don't know if I mentioned my name before, Ms. Becca. I don't know. Debbie McClellan. Okay. Before I just talk quickly about the things that I had on my list, because you have 3 new board members, I was confused with that whole motion to table. And then when you said, let's see if we can get it passed first, I never saw that happen. So I'm really concerned that somebody puts a motion, wants to table a motion, and the chair wants to see if she can get it passed first. That does not make sense. And you have new board members who should be not watching that. Okay, just quickly. One of the things that I filed for recently was the oath book. I sat down with the district clerk at the time, and I looked through the book. Everything that happened after Ms. Canestro was removed, put back, all of that, I just wanted to see the book. And I thought it was interesting. I signed the book many times myself, but I never actually looked at it. And then I went to, and by the way, there are entries in the book that either don't have signatures. The last 2 entries, the notary stamp was there. I believe it was your lawyer's stamp, but nothing was written on. It just was a stamp, when the other ones had officially been.
It's signed underneath it.
No, it wasn't.
Yes.
I had,
Okay,
the district clerk looked at it with me,
okay,
and she agreed with me, and then
Okay.
she put it back in the closet.
all right, I'll look at it,
Okay. I wouldn't lie about that.
maybe.
I I have no reason to lie, sir.
All right.
She was sitting right there with me, and I pointed it out to her. Okay, so policy 2210, which is 11 years old, has the policy identifies who the district officers are, and they must take the oath according to the policy. If they take the oath, the people that are identified, the claims auditor, is not in our oath book. So if they're required by policy to take the oath, should they be signing the oath book?
So the claims order has been changed.
Can you stop
Oh.
my time?
Can you stop our time?
Thank
The
you.
claims order was changed to allow claims order by a consultant. So there are claims orders that by statute, you're allowed to do that by consultant, and those claims orders don't sign book.
So in the policy, it supersedes, it overrides the policy?
So the law does, yes,
Okay.
Yeah.
And the same thing with the tax collector that's listed?
yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you for answering that. Also, I've been working with the district clerk on getting an official letter that denied my, my application during the election time. I put in, what's it called?
Petition? Okay.
I handed my petition in on time. It was stamped by the clerk. It was denied, and I'm supposed to get an official letter.
I'll look into that.
I already asked many times at the board meeting.
Will
with-
you ask the district, I'm sorry.
With the, no, but I've asked the district clerk, I have it in writing, verbally spoke to her again when I looked at the oath book, and at school board meetings, I asked with lawyers present.
Okay.
That's just, why, I'm entitled to that, aren't I supposed to
I-
get a,
I'll- As I said, I'll look into it. I'm hearing this for the first time, but I will look into it for you.
oh, this is April,
I'm
It
sorry.
started.
I'm just
okay,
hearing now. I made a note and I'll look into it for you.
okay. Well, I did even make the board aware that I'm entitled to be officially denied by the process according to the law.
As I said,
Okay.
Thank you.
And once and for all, gotta ask this, a very important question. I'll ask it and then you can answer it and I'll sit down. Does the school board have to post all meetings within 72 hours of a meeting?
no,
If it's scheduled a week or more in advance? Okay, he did a lot of talking on my time. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, thanks. Oh, wow, well, thanks. I appreciate it.
So if they're scheduled more than a week in advance, they should be.
No, what's the law? I don't want to should. What's the law? What is the open meetings law? What is the law? What's this?
I don't have it at my fingertips. right now.
Really?
I will follow up. Thank you.
So all the stuff I sent to the board quoting the law, it doesn't get done and nobody checks with you? You know the law is 72 hours if it's scheduled 1 week or more. And the law was amended in 2021 in October to include that all supporting documentation be posted 24 hours before a meeting.
So we have the question. He will look into it and we'll get you.
I just would like to get it done because, I've been asking for many, 2 years
So
now.
he will look into it, and if he has a response before the meeting is over, he'll
Okay.
provide it to
It's
me.
just, I know I'm frustrating you guys and I'm
No,
frustrating myself.
You're not frustrating me,
know, but
I'm uncomfortable right now,
it's-
so that's why you're not
It's
frustrating me.
important.
Thank you.
So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments on non-agenda items? Right, seeing none, I'm going to, Dr. Talbot, do you have any reports? The board, there's 5 different items down here, so am I okay with crossing off the Warrior logo, because we already discussed that? Are you okay with the energy
Wait,
performance?
no, I have a question with that.
All right, so I'll just start at the top then. I'll start with the Northeast. So questions about, I'm
Ye-
not too sure what the, Northeast.
Yeah, I had asked about that. One of the questions was gonna be about the enrollment, but you know, we're gonna be $2 million short because we had the one-time infusion. So we have to be conscientious with our spending. But I was thinking of, you know, an alternate high school, because we have so many behavioral issues, that perhaps that we could house it in half of that building. And maybe, and I understand there would be a cost with that, but wouldn't that cut down on the pins and like the Brennan placements? Can we look at something like that, or a cost evaluation to see, so that we could, you know, separate the students that might have, whether it's behavioral issues, might need alternative learning. Sometimes kids just have anxiety, whatever, they just need these alternate learnings. If we could do something in-house, I think that would be really beneficial for the kids.
Excellent idea. It's something that we've preliminarily spoken about. Some teachers have also shared their thoughts around that as well.
Oh, great.
It's an expensive venture, but it's on our list for leasing, alternative school, and 4410. So yes, thank you.
Okay, great. That's all I have on that.
Any other questions or comments about Northeast? All right, so I'll go to the DOT culvert project.
I had asked this beyond, under reports, because in a previous meeting, we talked about trying to communicate with New York State DOT and get something in writing that they were not going to impede our access to the parking lot during school hours for school buses and staff.
So my recommendation is that this fall under the heading of the Health and Safety Committee. So the Health and Safety Committee has, as part of its job, an obligation to monitor all construction on school property and make sure that issues of noise, student health, staff health, safety, traffic, all those issues are addressed. And so it'd be my recommendation that the Health and Safety Committee take this under their charge and reach out to the DOT. So that way you have a committee having this on its agenda and can follow up. And I would recommend a presentation by DOT with respect to their plans for that construction. They can be questioned by the committee, and then they can be follow up and follow through to make sure during the course of the construction project that DOT is making good with its promises with respect to the protection of the students, traffic, and staff.
Okay, I guess I'm actually on that committee, so, okay. Is there a contact that
Yeah,
we've spoken
we
to?
can certainly provide you with the contact information that provide the business. We can draft a letter on your behalf to that individual, and we can coordinate that with you and the committee to have the DOT participate.
Okay, I didn't really want to pick something else up, but, but okay, I guess, you're recommending that the committee, so it doesn't necessarily have to be me.
It's
because
not
we
you,
have to
it's the committee.
establish the committee,
Yeah, so the committee has been established.
yes, or we'll have to
Right,
start
but the
meeting.
committee that's in place would not really handle something like this. I think Mr. Galena could probably speak to this. The committee that's in place is a monthly meeting with the teachers and Mr. Galena, and they discuss things like if there's a broken window in the classroom that hasn't been attended to, air quality issues. I think that this would be a separate type of committee.
Not according to the statute,
No?
no.
So that would,
Statutorily, the Health and Safety
so that
Committee,
would be within the Health and Safety Committee
Yes.
in the high school.
it has the obligation under the commissioner's regulations to monitor ongoing construction. So whether it is DOT construction on school property or other construction on school property, the Health and Safety Committee has as its charge the duty to monitor the construction and make sure that there's no negative impact from the construction on student staff.
But this is
at
separate
high
safety
school.
committee, correct?
So I think this is a good time for us just to establish a clear understanding. So past history here in Amityville, the Health and Safety Committee was not a board advisory committee nor a board-led committee, as I'm understanding. It was led by the Director of Facilities, who had monthly meetings with health and safety committees in the schools, but also addressed construction issues. The board appointed, just as I remember last year, Dave Heller to be the facilities, what was his title? Liaison to that committee. Am I correct? That's my operational understanding of how it has functioned. Now, on the July 11th reorganization agenda, there was, what was the name of that committee that was appointed?
Safety and wellness, right?
Wellness, but what was it about safety? It was labeled health and safety. And Mr. Galina's name was inserted on that line. The understanding of that health and safety committee was that it centered more around district-wide safety with security, or is it district-wide safety with facilities? I guess I need clarity.
I haven't served on the committee yet.
Who served on it last year?
I think it was Jeanette was on that committee.
Jeanette was on that. That was the one that you did make every meeting.
That's when she attended the monthly meetings in the schools with Fred Metzer at the time.
Yeah, so it's the safety committee, it's policy committee, safety committee, and wellness committee. Those are the ones that we voted on at the reorg. And,
You don't have a health and health.
no, it was a safety committee and a wellness committee. And Carol and Megan were safety committee, and wellness was Leslie and Caroline. Leslie and Caroline were wellness, safety was Carol and Megan. So we just need to, yeah.
So do we just work with Mr. Galina to start those monthly meetings then?
So,
Now,
go ahead.
It's actually the teachers.
those
that-
meetings take place during the day.
It's two separate, two other.
Mr. Galena, do you have any?
So it's two separate committees. It's a
separate
health and
Yeah.
safety committee. That's one committee.
So
And
the
then
health
there's a
and safety
safety
meeting that
committee, and then there's a
Megan,
wellness committee.
Megan and I are on, actually who spearheads that committee is Mike Greco. And he works with Mr. Galena.
Okay, so my experience on the Health and Safety Committee, the last district that I was in, a similar thing happened to me where I was appointed and I wasn't asked. And I was told to run this. And what happened at those health and safety committees, and I'm all for them because I'm all for transparency. However, it would turn into individual teacher gripes about certain things not getting done, which really should be handled under work orders and such. So my opinion of health and safety is lockdown, lockout issues and things of that nature that I'm more than happy to participate in. But I just don't want, I have no problem stepping up and helping out if that's what I'm being asked to do. You know, I would never say no. However, I just want to make sure that the committee is what it would be intended for. So I would definitely want to have a discussion because again, as Dr. Talbot had mentioned, I walked in, signed my contract, and now all of a sudden I found out I have another responsibility. And so I won't run away from that, but let's just be responsible and make sure that the committees address what they're really intended to do.
Right, and I think to your point, that the safety committee was what Carol, or you were just talking about, that addresses at the building level without you there with the representative from the building, and they address things at the building level. But then the health and safety committee has a very different focus, and we don't we don't have a board representative on the Health and Safety Committee.
What Mr. Galina is saying is, that's what I was talking about having a police representative, fire, because we
Right.
called it a SAVE committee, which is, which is similar. You would go through scenarios, if an oil tanker went down, if there was a
Correct.
shooter, all
Right.
these different things. That I just want to tell the board that the Health and Safety Committee is policy 8112. So I just pulled it up. But that's what I was referencing. I wasn't referencing going through buildings and looking at broken windows. I was talking about that.
Right.
All right, so
But-
we,
So the policy that's referenced by trustee Canestro, 8112, includes monitor safety during school construction projects, including periodic meetings to review issues and address complaints related to health and safety resulting from the project. So that's bullet number 4 on the committee's charge with respect to construction projects.
all right, so the Health and Safety Committee would fall under, in terms of the DOT, that would fall in that direction and not the Safety Committee.
So whatever the health and safety, whatever you determine.
Yeah, right.
To
It's,
be the committee that
Okay.
is charged with the policy
Okay.
8112.
Right.
Would be the Health and Safety Committee, and they would.
so
have
Health
that
and
as
Safety
well.
Committee, we would address school shooter issues and man-trap issues and stuff of that nature. And Ms. Canestra, I'd like to address something that you brought up earlier as far as a Buildings and Grounds Committee.
Yeah.
I'm already required by my superintendent, my business agent, to file a BOE update every week.
Perfect.
And so I'm assuming that they're taking my recommendations and my reports and then bringing them to you to let you know what we're doing on a facility.
Yeah, what I was thinking is for the community's sake. So if you gave, very informal, just a brief update of whatever it is at the time that would need to be, because I think the community, for transparency, should know.
So what's going to happen is Dr. Talbot said that she will include that in her
Yeah.
reports.
Okay.
Yeah, mhm, that's fine.
All right, so
Thank
I
you.
think we got the Health and Safety Committee and we got it, and I see that the DOT will be connected with the Health and Safety Committee and not the Safety Committee.
I'm sorry. I
Are there
just need
board members
clarity,
on that,
madam.
the Health and Safety
That's what I
Committee?
was
I'm getting
asked.
confused. Is
Well,
the health,
I-
yeah,
so I
are
would've-
are you both on the Health
No,
and Safety
no.
Committee?
Yeah, I sort of interpreted that I was signing up for a board committee, and
So
that
you-
board committee would have been the 8112
No,
policy.
you're,
The policy refers to composed representation from district officials, staff, bargaining units, and parents. So that's,
Maybe we could revise it during the policy committee and maybe put like 2 board members on it or
yeah,
something.
so currently right now, like I said, it's a Safety Committee, which is at the building level, then it's Health and Safety. So as we move forward, we can look at the policy. if
I
we
mean,
wanna
I
make any
think you
changes.
can,
Yeah.
without changing your policy,
Yeah.
create a liaison,
Right, like we
a
did,
board liaison to that committee.
correct. Well, that's what we did before,
That's what you've done
Megan.
before,
Yep. So. All right,
if you want the job.
Yeah, Megan.
all right, so
Can I ask a question?
go ahead.
Is there an update about the parking facilities for the condos next door?
So that will be all covered with,
That would all be covered with the.
yeah.
That they're gonna do.
So
that.
does, we can have 1 or 2 board liaisons. It doesn't make a difference, correct? Yeah.
It's
So-
within your discretion.
So how about if I go through the rest of the list and then I'll make a motion for that. That way people can think about whether or not they want to be a board liaison for the Health and Safety Committee. Go ahead, Dr. Talbot.
The board committee that Megan and Carol signed up for on July 11th.
Our
Tell
our
me what
microphones are gonna
committee
shut off soon.
Is that the board safety committee?
That is a safety committee that seems to be
Around
occurring.
security.
No, it seems to be a committee that has representation from the buildings. And the board members sit on that committee. And based on what I'm hearing, they just address issues that occur at the building level. That's the only focus of that. So as we move forward, what we can do is then have an actual board member, if we want, on the Health and Safety Committee. And we really may not need to sit on the Safety or the Wellness Committee. And because if you're not available during the day to attend those meetings, then being on that committee makes no difference. So to answer your question, the safety committee safety committee, quote unquote, is considered a board committee, but it's not really being run by the board. So we have work to do.
Okay.
All right, we'll move on. I'll just address it now. Does any board member have a desire to be on the Health and Safety Committee? Be appointed as a board liaison to be on the Health and Safety Committee? If you don't want to answer tonight, we can address it another night. So I'll move along. So Warrior logo litigation, I'm not trying to pressure anyone. You can think about it and we go from there. So Warrior logo litigation, anyone have any comments about that? Anything additional that we discussed?
I just want to say, because I was one of the ones who requested to put it on, and we did talk about it a lot. I understand now that we should have a resolution to the lawsuit soon, and all that's left in what's been budgeted is $8,000, so it doesn't seem like much worth haggling over. But my feeling in asking for it to be on the agenda was, it's a lost cause. Every little bit counts. We should just, step away from this lawsuit. If we're going to find out very soon and then have a final answer, all right, let it go. But if that is the final answer and we're not spending any more than what we've already, budgeted for.
Well, I think the second part that you just stated is what I would like to find out in the final stages. I would like to find out from them that $8,000, whatever is left, right? Will that cover all of the expenses? And I'm not, I would like to find that out, just to
Yeah,
find
and
out
to
from the law
just-
firm if it will cover all the remaining expenses, because if not, I don't want them to turn around and come back and say, well, I just did this deposition and guess what? It's now going to be, instead of $8,000, it's now going to be $15,000. So we just need to know.
Council,
Yes,
for Sokolov Stern said he would be willing to meet with the board.
that would be a good idea.
and,
Yeah,
uh,
yeah, I
can
think that would be the
arrange
best.
for,
But I think
that
two
council.
districts just lost.
Right, and
I mean, it's kind of a losing battle right now. We're on this train that's going.
and
gonna
that's
down.
what, as a board, we have to decide. Do
Yeah.
we want to?
I mean, we invested so much, but I kind of agree with Caroline. We're not in a position to be, lenient with money right now.
So we can, at the next board meeting, we can make a decision. I mean, if we want to put on the agenda just to come out of the lawsuit, and I'm not too sure, can we come out at this point in time? Or we have to find out from
My
them?
suggestion would be to speak to the.
Okay, so yeah, we'll have them to speak to us, and then we can make a decision if we want to stop or continue on. So
Okay.
I'll have them come for the next meeting, everyone.
Okay.
Energy performance contract, anything else that was already?
Yeah, I asked for that to be on there. It's $1 million in the budget. We need money. We're going to be $2 million less going into 24, 25. I'm asking the board to consider terminating it. The cost isn't realized for 15 years. And I know that they said that there was a penalty if you terminated early, but I would ask if council can look into that, because I think it could probably be negotiated down to get out of the contract.
I think you probably have to get back to us, but I know that was looked at before. We were given a number before, so you probably need to look at it again, because we're now at a different point in time.
Yeah, and
get
council, do you see
information
what I'm saying? Like, maybe you can negotiate that cost down, and say, let's just say they're like, okay,
There
as
there
of today, it's
wasn't much
500, but.
negotiations, I'm telling you right
but-
now. There was not much negotiations in terms of
So
going down.
I can revisit
He
that
tried.
issue.
Yeah, could you let us know?
Sure.
Thank you.
But it's a possibility that we could scale back on the improvements that we're selecting per location?
The contract and the scope of the improvements have been decided upon and contracted for. And the scope, the way that the EPC works is you have a scope of work, and those benefits provide the payoff over the term of the contract. So it is over the term of the contract to pay for itself. With respect to the work, however, the way it's structured is the design cost, the construction cost, that's all upfront, and then the payoff is over a period of time set forth in the contract. So those upfront costs, if you terminate the contract, then you end up paying the upfront costs without getting the benefits provided by the energy saving measures over time.
And I'll wait for your email, but I remember that it was quite a big chunk of money that we would have to pay out. And not, so I'll wait for the updates so the entire board can.
Is
hear.
that, so does that mean that there is a design already complete and the drawings are already with the state?
So
Yes.
my recollection was that there was design,
Yes,
and that
and-
design was placed up to the state. I don't know if
And we're
it's still
waiting
in the
for them.
queue.
Yep.
It is in the queue. We checked today, and we were told by the architect for the project that it was just picked up by the state. And they expect the review to be completed within 4 weeks.
Yep.
Right?
Yes.
Right, any other questions or comments regarding this? And the last one is the high school safety plan.
I requested that. You know, there's been significant violence at the high school. I think parents want to be reassured of what the plan is, you know, going forward, because safety is obviously paramount. I also, this is tied to two other things also. The APs are going to be absorbing the dean responsibilities, but APs also do observation, teacher observations. So I want to make sure that the teacher observations are still going to happen. You know, because they're being, you know, burdened with other responsibilities. And regarding the high school safety plan, the other part that goes to that is I was looking at the job postings, and I don't think there's ample time for these jobs postings. Like, there was security guards, it was posted 7:31 and it closed 8:02. It's Wednesday to Friday. You know, I looked at a lot of these, E&L, am I reading it wrong? I'm reading it wrong? Oh, okay, because I'm saying like, like the AP was only a week, the ENL teacher, it's 5 days, a nurse is 2 days. You know, a psychologist is 5 days. It's just, I don't think there's enough ample time. So I know in the past we've said, oh, sometimes people don't apply or we can't get interest. Well, if you're only putting it up for 2 days, no wonder, you know, I think, and I'm concerned about the security guards. If there was a posting that said security guards and there was only 2 days for that, how would we expect people in 2 days to respond to that?
So as it pertains to the
Well,
postals.
I'm really concerned about the high school mostly, but I'm just saying like these, it kind of splinters off. So the AP is going to take on the dean responsibility. We know there's behavioral issues there. Will they still be able to do observations? Right?
Yeah.
Or is that still going to happen? And then the second part is, you know, we're advertising for security guards, but we only put up 2 days for somebody to reply.
Dr. Wade, you want to respond to that particular posting?
Yes, those positions are for sub-security guards. So we knew that we have spots to fill in the security guard schedule to start school. And so we did a quick turnaround so that we can have them available to us to sub at the beginning of school.
Did we get interest within 2 days?
Yes.
Okay, great. Okay, I would just ask to monitor that, like the amount of time we're putting up for things. And as far as the high school safety plan, Dr. Talbot, I don't know if that's something like how you could address that with the community, but I know the community is anxious about that with all the fights that took place, some sort of reassurance or, you know, how it may be addressed or, you know, I know it's going to be very positive, you know, uplifting message, but somehow address that.
Yes. Well, I hear you regarding the concern, and the building administration has been working on a high school safety plan. The plan includes things around the student entry, their IDs. It includes hall sweeps. It includes bathroom monitoring. It includes security being more mobile around the building. It includes restorative circle groups. It includes grade level assemblies, gathering students together, running an incentive plan. Also looking at the food deliveries that have come to the school, and establishing school culture has been at the top of the list. So the principals will be reporting to the board on their back to school plans. The school safety plan will be a part of that. They will also discuss it and share it with parents at the orientations
Okay.
and with all of the students as they return to school. We've also talked about social media posting in terms of putting messages out early on so that everyone understands the expectations, feeling the need that there is a change, that I am going to have to come to school with the right mindset, that certain things will not be tolerated. We know that the governor is looking at a cell phone policy.
Yeah.
We know that some other states have banned cell phones during instructional times at school. Students are being able to bring them, but they have to be out of sight, out of mind. So we're waiting for Governor Hochul to come down with what she's planning and simultaneously looking at our own code of conduct to see how we can launch anything successfully as well.
Yeah, the cell phones was a big thing because sometimes I feel like when, oh, then they get a fight and they film the fight, then the fight gets put on social media and you take that away, there's no stage anymore,
Yeah,
All
it's
right.
it's unfortunate, but across the board in terms of, and I will be quiet, in terms of cell phones, our district is not the only district that sees this problem.
Oh, no, I'm
Whether
not,
it's
I'm not
fighting
suggesting
or
that.
it's like body shaming or whatever it may be, taking pictures and putting it up.
And I guess just the last thing is the superintendent evaluation for 23-24. I'd like to get that on the calendar for August before the start of the school year. I think you mentioned we'll be doing that.
Yeah, so what I would like to say is that we, maybe tomorrow, not maybe, definitely tomorrow night, can the board come in with their calendars and that way we can determine a date.
Great, thank you.
Right. Did you want to say anything?
I didn't have a legal counsel report, but I did want to address the question that came up about the open meetings law and the posting, the public notice of a meeting and time of a meeting scheduled.
Just speak more into the mic.
Sure.
Okay.
Public notice of the time and place of a meeting scheduled at least 1 week prior thereto shall be given in one or more designated public locations at least 72 hours before such meeting. So I just wanted to, I know that question was
Okay.
asked tonight and there was open question. I wanted to provide a response.
Thank you. And with our interim district clerk, I will work with her and with the new clerk coming in, make sure that everything is up in the more timely fashion. Thank you. Can I have a motion to adjourn at 11:10?
So moved. Second.
That was Carol and Wendy. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you for coming out.